Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Great to be with you on a wonderful fall afternoon in the capital city of Kansas. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, the whole gang going to be along for the next 3 hours here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and streaming live on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. We're so happy to have you along. We've got lots to talk about in the next 3 hours of the program today. We appreciate you being with us. It is the unofficial start, or at least it used to be, the unofficial start day of the college basketball season. The Champions Classic used to be like the first real games of the season. That's not the case anymore. It's not even the first real game of the year for KU. And they played North Carolina at home on Friday. This game against Michigan State, this won't even be the best team they've played in their first 3 games this season. I have more to say about this later on, but I kind of think that's a bummer. I liked it when the Champions Classic was like, oh, hey, college basketball is here, and maybe there have been some other games, but these are the first big ones. These are the first appointment viewing college basketball games of the season. I miss when that was the case.
I wholeheartedly respect your opinion. I counter with this. The games sucked. They were hideous. Remember that time KU turned the ball over 28 times against Duke?
And won, I think.
No, lost by
lost
2 points. Yeah, or maybe it was 4 points. Yeah, 28 turnovers, lost by 2 scores.
Was that? Oh, man. Which year was that?
Was
that the Andrew Wiggins year?
No, that was 1920.
Oh, that was...
KU went on to be the best team in the country that year that should have won the national championship, but that's neither here nor there. Now I'm going to cry. But, yeah, like the games were just gross. I like knowing that there is... Now, granted, KU didn't exactly have a warm-up this year. They had one warm-up game, Howard, and then played top 10 North Carolina at home. But I like having at least one game, if not 2, to say, oh, yeah, like, these are my new teammates, especially because rosters turn over so much nowadays. Like, you have a little bit of a ramp up into, hey, marquee opponent, primetime, Tuesday night, first Super Tuesday, essentially, of the year. I like having a little build up to that so you don't end up with the ugliest basketball you've ever seen. The COVID year, I believe it must have been the 20 and 21 season. KU played Kentucky. KU won that game, but it was also hideously ugly. Just some of the most toilet ball basketball you've ever seen. I like having a build up to it. Because I know that KU Michigan State will be pretty good basketball.
Here's the other thing that I don't like about the one thing that I would change about the Champions Classic if I could. Man, get Michigan State the hell out of my face. Like, when was the last time?
There's no better Big Ten option.
Doesn't need to be a Big Ten team. I don't care. I don't care if the Big Ten is unrepresented. When was the last time you were like, man, I can't wait to watch some hot Big Ten basketball action? Decades. Plural. They've won a national championship since 1999. Get that whole league out of my face.
Let's remember some Michigan State basketball guys.
Do not show me Big Ten basketball. I have never
Corey Lucius was playing last time I wanted to watch the Big Ten.
I have never, been excited. Every one of these programs, man, KU, number one, this year, preseason number 1 team in the country.
Yep.
Bill Self, great X's and O's coach. They've got stars. They got 5 stars. They got future pros. Duke is Duke. Duke is always going to be...
And has Cooper Flag.
Yes, worth watching. And this year, yes, the draw is Cooper Flag. Kentucky, always worth watching. Always piles of future lottery picks. This year, super intriguing because it's the first year post-Calipari. What is that roster going to look like? How are they going to play under Mark Pope? What's the hook for Michigan State? What has the hook been for Michigan State for the better part of the last decade? Well, you just got to respect Tom Izzo and how much he wins in March. Number 1, no, I don't. Number 2, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, I've never been an Izzo guy. I know he has won a lot of games in his career. I understand and respect that. I'm not an Izzo guy.
He has become grumpy old man, and I no longer am interested in any way, shape, or form or watching his teams play basketball.
The problem you run into, though, is you would need to bring, the school that should be in it. Well, then you can't call it the Champions Classic. You put Gonzaga in it. But then you can't call it the Champions Classic anymore because they've never won. But because I understand wanting a Big Ten school there, because then you have 4 different conferences represented, and they're not going to, like, the common one is, well, put North Carolina in. Yeah, but then you can't rotate them the same way because Duke and North Carolina already play twice or maybe 3 times a year. So you want to mix someone else in. But the Big Ten doesn't have a program like that. I mean, who would be a better choice even from the Big Ten? Indiana? Maybe.
Now they're puke too. Don't show me the Big Ten.
Well, I don't want to watch any Mike Woodson coached team ever again. They're gross.
The answer to this question was Villanova, but Kyle Neptune has steered that ship aground.
Pew!
So yeah, that was the answer to the question.
And
anyhow,
like Kyle Pluto. Yuck.
I was going to say a bunch more about this. I don't want to empty the chamber, but we got a lot more to say about the Champions Classic later on. That's the big sporting event tonight. The Kansas Jayhawks against the Michigan State Spartans. It's going to tip off while we're on the air. Very inconsiderate, frankly.
Yeah, crap.
ESPN of the Champions Classic to start that game while we're on the air. But that's what they're going to do.
Also, though, very smart because this event always runs long. So long.
Another thing that always bothered me about the Champions Classic is if KU was ever in the second game, which unless they play Michigan State was always the case.
Yeah.
Has Michigan State ever played in the nightcap?
I do not believe so. I believe Michigan State is always the early
why
game.
Are you here?
Because then you want the marquee game going second, right? Oh, Duke versus Kentucky. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's bigger than Kansas, Michigan State. Oh, well, Kansas, Duke. Well, obviously that's going to get the night game. Well, even Kansas, Kentucky. That's bigger than Duke, Michigan State. Michigan State's the only team that always plays first. You'd think you'd feel bad at that point, right? Like, we're going to start our own Champions Classic with other teams that haven't won anything in 25 years.
25 years! They're the only team in this thing that don't have any championship highlights in high definition.
Yeah, no one else is like who would Michigan State's Champions Classic field be? Like, they're conference mates with Maryland now. It can't be them. I don't even know who you pick. Georgetown, come on down.
Yeah, there you go. There's some faded memories.
At this point, you could bring Florida into it. It's been upwards of 20 years for them.
You're exactly right. You have the SEC thing with Kentucky, but like
UNLV.
Man, the Champions Classic is tonight.
Yeah, it's tonight.
Duke, Kentucky.
Catch the fever.
Yeah, Duke, Kentucky will be really good. KU, Michigan State will be intriguing. KU, Michigan State starts at 5:30. We're going to preview it. We're going to talk to Michael Swain about it, our Jayhawks insider from Fog.net 24/7 Sports, Jayhawk Weekly, coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today. We've got some real Chiefs news to talk about today. Reinforcements are on the way. The practice windows, the designated to return status is open for Isiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu. What does that mean for the Chiefs moving forward as they prepare to add those two pieces back as soon as this Sunday against Buffalo? Now, we won't know until we get a look at the participation reports for practice this week, how realistic it is that either of those two play. But it is interesting that yesterday, Andy Reid said that Juju Smith-Schuster was closer to a return to action than Pacheco and Omenihu. So I would not count on either of those guys playing in Orchard Park on Sunday, but it'll be sooner rather than later. There is a target date for the return of two very important Chiefs, and we will break that down. Also, I'm going to tell you why the fact that Patrick Mahomes has been sacked 8 times in the last 2 weeks is actually good. Not in terms of his health, obviously, but I think it points to something positive. Even though it is, again, 8 sacks in 2 weeks taken by Mahomes. And I'm going to explain what I mean a little bit later on. Also, we have done it at all the major checkpoints this season. We did it before the season began. We did it 3 games in. We did it 6 games in at the midway point. Now we are at the 3-quarter pole in the Big 12 football season, and it's time to tier the Big 12 teams once again, once and for all. We, all 3 of us, have tiered the Big 12 teams, and we will give those to you in the 4 o'clock hour. Plus all the things you come to know and love from a Tuesday edition of the show. We'll have our sports headlines at 5 o'clock. We got What Is Wrong With You coming at about 4:30. Random Question Tuesday coming up later this hour, and so much more. You can participate in the show today. Hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. Send us a text. We'd love to hear from you, 785-272-9429. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube, and we welcome those of you who are tuned in today on our YouTube stream. The channel, again, is 580 Sports Talk. If you are watching live, there is a live chat function. You can interact with us and your fellow listeners throughout the show today. Again, thanks for being with us here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's talk some Chiefs. Reported earlier today that the 21-day practice window has opened for Isiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu, or will open this week. Now, the way IR works is that once you are designated to return from injured reserve, you get 21 days to return to play. So it allows you to get guys back to practice, but also not have them count against your 53-man roster just yet if they're not entirely ready to come back. And you can make that decision the closer you get to game day. Chiefs don't have to make that decision today, whether or not they have to add them to the 53-man roster. They can wait. Anyway, Isiah Pacheco, Charles Omenihu. It's a big deal because these are impactful players. And we'll start with Pacheco on the offensive side of the ball. Kareem Hunt deserves a lot of credit for giving the Chiefs what he has given the Chiefs since he signed after week 4. 5 games with the Chiefs, or 6 total with the Chiefs, and he signed in week 4. I shouldn't say after week 4. He's rushed for 449 yards and 5 touchdowns, a success rate on rushing plays of nearly 57%. He's caught 14 passes. He has not fumbled. It's been a really nice addition for Kareem Hunt. He has had success following the blocks that are made for him and getting what is there to be gotten. The difference between a 29-year-old Kareem Hunt and a healthy 25-year-old Isiah Pacheco is very simple. Isiah Pacheco is going to get you that and more. Think of all those 4 or 5-yard runs that Kareem Hunt has had and been able to chip off with the Broncos game accepted common regularity since he joined the team. Again, I mentioned it. The success rate on his runs is up to 57%, right around 57%. He is getting the yards that are there to be gotten. Isiah Pacheco gets you those yards, and then he gets you a couple of more yards. And how much more effective is this Chiefs offense going to be when instead of 4 yards or 5 yards on first down, which again, you're getting that from Kareem Hunt, but on that same play, blocked the same way, what if Pacheco's getting you 7? What if instead of 7, Pacheco's getting you 12?
Yeah, the lack of an explosive run game, I don't want to say it has hurt the Chiefs because they are undefeated. Not really a whole lot has hurt the Chiefs at this point, but you can see it's something that can take this offense to another level. And if you are one of many Chiefs fans who feels like, oh my God, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop and I'm worried about X, Y, Z about this offense and Mahomes has looked great, yada, yada. I think adding explosion back into the running game is going to be extremely helpful because that's not something Kareem Hunt can do for you. And I'm with you. He deserves a lot of credit. He's been so much better than I thought he would be. Here's a great stat for you. Kareem Hunt is pair of stats, really. Kareem Hunt is 20th in the NFL in total number of rushing attempts. Okay, 20th. He is the only player with 6 or fewer games played in the top 49. Raheem Mostert is 50th. He's only played in 6 games. He has 55 carries. There is one player in the top 50 in rushing this season who has more carries per game than Kareem Hunt. And that's Joe Mixon, who no one would say Kareem Hunt is better than Joe Mixon right now. Nobody would. Kareem Hunt's running the ball nearly 21 times a game in the latter part of his career as a running back who was injured for much of last season. That's remarkable what he has been able to do for the Chiefs and the fact that they have been willing to rely on him. And probably it's the fact that he just doesn't fumble the ball, like you pointed out, like has always been one of his biggest strengths. So that's been incredible. But that being said, you are also getting this season 3.6 yards per carry out of Kareem Hunt. He's getting you either 3 or 4 yards pretty much every time he touches the ball. And That's good on 3rd and short. That's good on the goal line. That's good in 4th and short situations. But if you add Isiah Pacheco back in, suddenly you've got a chance to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards or possibly break the long one, which you're just not getting from Kareem Hunt this season. You know what his long is this year?
Kareem Hunt? Gosh, it was it was against Tampa Bay, wasn't it? He ran for like 14, 15 yards?
15 yards. And again, that is the shortest, the second shortest long run of any player in the top 50 in the NFL. You're just not getting any sort of burst. You're getting consistency, not burst. You might not get 100% of Hunt's consistency when Pacheco's in there because he does hunt for big game more often, but that explosion is more than going to make up for that.
Yeah, it will be nice to see, even if it's just a little bit. Like last season, Pacheco averaged 1.9 yards per carry after contact. Hunt was right there, or 1.7 yards per carry after contact. So yeah, 0.2 yards. You don't think that's a big deal on a one single carry basis, but that adds up over the course of 60 minutes. That adds up over the course of 20 carries. And that gives you an opportunity to, I think, drive the success rate of this offense up even further, because you're going to start to look at 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, even more than you've been looking at 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. And the Chiefs have been deadly in 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, but more yards on first down, going to give you an even better chance. And look, I just think Pacheco will do everything that Kareem Hunt has brought to this offense. He's just going to do it better.
Higher ceiling. He's a higher ceiling player. Now, I do think it's important to note, end of game, like we're talking 4th quarter. Isiah Pacheco is physical. You do not want to tackle that guy. No. When it is colder, when you're worn down after 55 minutes of football, you do not want to try to tackle number 10. That being said, I would not be surprised if in those quote-unquote clutch situations, we do still see plenty of Kareem Hunt. Goal line, too. The reason being, Isiah Pacheco fumbles. He's not rookie Adrian Peterson just giving it away like it's candy, but he also does not have the kind of ball security that Kareem Hunt has. So I would not be surprised if Hunt still has a role kind of as the closer at running back. And I think Samaje Perine is still going to play a bunch, too, because he's your pass protector, and he's the receiving back of the group.
Both Hunt and Perine are better in the passing game than Pacheco. I think Pacheco took some strides last year. We remember that. But both of those backs are better options, I think, in the receiving game. So there are going to be roles for those guys. The guy you're not going to see anymore is Carson Steele. You may see him on the kickoff returns, but if he's got, like, 10 more carries in him outside of garbage time the rest of this year, I would be very surprised. It might be like the Michael Burton role where he's the fullback and the offset eye on the 3rd and 1 or the 4th and 1, and that's the handoff.
Run some traps to him.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff you see from him. But it's going to be pretty defined. I think that he is much more of in the fullback role now.
At this point in the season, Carson Steele is a great story. And that's about all I have for you. That's all I got. You're just not getting anything from him at this point. Maybe he, next year he takes another stride forward, another offseason, another year of growth, all that. Perfect, cool, good, all for it. Right now, though, I think you have to take him out of the rotation. And they will. I don't think there's any doubt that once he had that last fumble a few weeks ago, that pretty much was the end for Carson Steele as a featured piece of the offense. I think Andy Reid will have no problem just moving him to the bench.
Over on the defensive side of the ball, Charles Omenihu's return gives the Chiefs another pass rusher who can win one-on-one. And you can never have too many of those guys.
Nope.
Chris Jones has been winning one-on-ones his entire career. Joshua Uche in specialized situations can win you a one-on-one. And Charles Omenihu can win you a one-on-one. George Karlaftis can do it too. He's much more of a speed guy. He's maybe not going to win the hand fighting in a way that Jones or Omenihu are.
No, he's just going to try to run through you.
Yes,
which works. He's good at it.
Yes, different kind of rusher. Mike Dana is a different kind of rusher, and Mike Uche is a different kind of rusher. More similar to Karlaftis. But you have another pass rusher in the chamber for a team that, again, even just go back to last week against the Broncos. Like when they got sacks, it was with extra man coming on the blitz. They did not win a lot with 4-man pressure. And this is a team this year that has not won with four-man pressure as often as you would have expected. Omenihu gives you the opportunity to do that more often.
I am very glad he will be there. The Chiefs, we gave you these stats last week, the pressure rate. In fact, it was after the Uche trade. The pressure rate for the Chiefs, where they ranked among the NFL, total pressures, all that. They dropped 3 spots in the NFL rankings in pressure rate after the Bronco game. They did not get after Bo Nix very well.
No.
And like you said yesterday on the show, credit to the Broncos.
The blitzes were extremely successful.
Yes.
Like every time Spagnuolo dialed up an extra rusher or 2 or 3, those resulted in third down stops or big negative plays. So the blitzes were effective. But on a down-to-down basis, when you're just rushing 4 and playing some of your base coverages on the back end, the pass rush was not as impactful.
Which honestly feels like very early Spags era Chiefs. Like we're talking 2019, even into 2020, when L'Jarius Sneed really came on the scene. Remember why he came on the scene? It wasn't for his coverage or his tackling.
Blitzing.
It was as a blitzer.
Yeah.
It was as a slot and outside blitzer. And it was finally, whoa, someone other than Chris Jones can get after the quarterback. Wow, our second best pass rusher after Chris Jones is not Frank Clark. It's L'Jarius Sneed, which is not great, but it's working for now. So this feels kind of like the 2019-2020 Chiefs defense a little bit in that regard, or at least this Broncos game did. So bringing in somebody else who's got size, strength, speed, he's just a naturally good edge player, defensive end in a 4-3, good player, great to have him back. I imagine it will take a couple of weeks to get the full Omenihu experience, and I'm assuming he'll be on a limited snap count for a little bit too. You have to ask the same question, though. Who loses time? In the running back room, it's easy. It's Carson Steele. That goes without saying. In the defensive ends room, I think it's a little bit more of an intriguing question because you're not taking away snaps from Karlaftis. He's been playing really well. Mike Dana is a stalwart for this team. He's got a lot of trust. Hasn't gotten a ton of pressure this year, but he's solid enough off the edge defending the run. He's been a steady player. He's not going to make massive mistakes. You've got Felix, who I'll get to more in a moment, and now you bring in Omenihu. Now, the nice thing is you can also bring Omenihu in on the interior. You can swap out Turk Wharton and put Charles Omenihu as an interior rusher. Then suddenly you've got Karlaftis, Omenihu, Jones, and who cares at your other defensive end spot, and you're in good shape.
That
on
could be
third
Dana,
name.
that could be Uche if you want to stand him up. Like you can do a lot
kind of
with
like
that.
Uche in that role, honestly, just pure pass rush all over the field.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't even mention him a moment ago. I don't necessarily think Felix should be the designated losing snaps guy. He'll lose some. Everyone will have to take at least a tiny little step back with Omenihu back because he's better than everyone but Karlaftis in that group, I think, just in terms of pass rush ability. I think there's some real noticeable improvement with Felix, though, in these last couple of games. Earlier today, I went through the film, the new NFL Pro service. You can actually pick a specific player, and it will build a playlist for you automatically of just plays when they were on the field. Mm-hmm. So I watched every snap for Felix against Denver, and there were some where he still got washed out, and he's not big enough to play down to down. He's just not. He needs to put on weight this offseason. But there were a couple plays, too, where he had a couple nice swims and some really good reaction time. He was able to beat Garrett Bowles off the end. In fact, his final snap of the day, about 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he tackled Bo Nix on the edge. Nix had nowhere to go.
Yeah, big loss. Yeah, that was a design QB run, and Felix ate it alive.
And he read the play perfect. He got up in his stance immediately, like pop time for a catcher. Got up right away. He recognized that it was a read option, saw the quarterback, read him the entire way and took him down. And I thought, dang, man, that's a smart play. That was great recognition. That's the kind of thing that I want on the field more. So he'll have to drop back a couple of snaps, but I don't want him losing his role completely with Omenihu back.
I feel like I have noticed Felix in a positive way just about once a game.
Agreed.
And I think given where he was at in the developmental process and the role he's being asked to fill on this year's team, I think you take that. I think that we've seen the steps forward that you want to see from a young player with Felix this season. And that was another example. That play he made on Nix last week was another example of a young player figuring out like that comes from film study. And then you let your athleticism and your strength and your speed kind of take over from there. And it's the melding of all of that that's going to make Felix, I still think, an effective NFL player. And we're seeing it. I think you see it more and more often as things go along. But yeah, somebody has to lose snaps because Omenihu's a guy you want on the field. Omenihu can play 3 downs. Certainly, you can do a lot of games and stunts and games with your alignment when you have that many versatile pass rushers on the field. That's what's going to be really fun from the Chiefs' perspective is you can line up Dana and Jones and Omenihu pretty much wherever you want on a given pass rush snap. And then the fourth guy can be whoever you need it to be. And that I think is going to be really interesting to see how Spagnuolo plays with that rotation and what each guy's role in the pass rush is going to be, because they do need to be more productive rushing the passer. They do. They got to get better at just raw numbers, raw production rushing the passer. A man who's going to help a whole lot. By the way, James Palmer, NFL Insider, about 10 minutes ago, did tweet that his anticipation this week is that Isaiah Pacheco does not play, but that Juju Smith-Schuster does. So the Chiefs do look like they're going to get at least one piece back on their offense this week with the return of Juju after missing 3 weeks due to that hamstring injury. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. It's our first one. We're overdue for it. We got Random Question Tuesday coming up later this hour. Lots of other stuff to get to on today's program, including Michael Swain, our Jayhawk insider for Jayhawk Weekly at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you why Patrick Mahomes, having been sacked 8 times in the last 2 weeks, is actually a good sign for the Chiefs offense. You're going to think I'm nuts, but bear with me and hear me out. That's coming up. We're just getting started on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting rolling here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Brendan with you for the moment. Spencer Dupuis will join us in a little bit.
Spencer actually told me that everyone sucks and he hates us and he's not coming back.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. He didn't say that, but it'd be wild if he did.
Yeah, that would be wild if he did. Very, very uncharacteristic of of Spencer.
Mild-mannered Spencer just yelling at us.
Pretty docile guy, Spencer Dupuis, generally speaking. Yeah, that would have startled me a little bit. But no.
I love to do that. I love it specifically to my wife. I love to say things like, "Oh yeah, did you know this thing?" Or "Oh yeah, so and so said this." Really? No.
And you're still married.
Yes. Yes, amazingly.
So what if I told you that the fact that Patrick Mahomes has been sacked 8 times in the last 2 weeks is actually a good sign for the Chiefs passing offense? What if I said that?
I would be curious to know your rationale.
So 2 things. Two reasons why I think this is good. Number 1, early in the season, when the Chiefs passing offense was not hitting on all cylinders and Patrick Mahomes was not at his best, I think we can agree that, again, the standards are incredibly high for a guy who's won 3 Super Bowl MVPs and is already writing a storybook career, that he wasn't real good against Cincinnati, and he wasn't like great against the Chargers in particular. 2 of the first 4 games of the year, he wasn't real good in those games, to be precise. And one of the reasons he wasn't real good in those games was he kept bailing the pocket. He would drop back and a little too quickly for my liking. And I was not the only person that noticed this. There were a lot of people, smart football watchers that you can find out there on social media, who picked up on this too, that Mahomes didn't trust the pocket or didn't trust the play or both, and was too quick to try and bail and do the magic Mahomes stuff. And look, that's never the worst idea in the world, because nobody does the Mahomes stuff better than Mahomes. He had that play against Denver where he escaped pressure and he found Samaje Perine across the field for a really big play on what ended up being a scoring drive. Like, it's that.
Mitch was going nuts during that play.
Yes. Like, those are the kinds of plays you don't want to tell Patrick Mahomes not to do that. But also, those plays, you're a little more comfortable with them being last resort type of plays. If the play's drawn up and it's a good enough play, somebody's going to get open, and you want your quarterback to sit in the pocket, trust the play, get the ball out, find a receiver. So the fact that Mahomes isn't bailing pockets, the sacks that he's taken the last 2 weeks have, with maybe one exception, not been him like tackled way outside the tackle box. They've been, the pocket is collapsed and he's taken the sack. But his willingness to sit in the pocket and see if something develops before the walls have closed in on him, I think that's a good sign. And I think it speaks to trusting what he sees down the field, having more faith in what is being schemed up, being more willing to let plays develop. Why is he more willing to let plays develop? Because he's got DeAndre Hopkins now. Because Travis Kelce is back to form. Why is he wanting plays to develop longer? Because they're drawing up more shot plays. We've been begging for those. Those are going to hit. I promise you. He's not going to miss to Xavier Worthy deep every week. Those are going to start to hit. Those are going to start to be jackpot plays for this Chiefs offense. Those are there. And so
if he does miss every week, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not his fault either.
Yeah, like
read between the lines however much you want with that comment.
2 weeks ago, he didn't miss. Yeah. Xavier Worthy just forgot what he was supposed to do with his feet while catching what should have been a touchdown. Yeah. So those plays are there. And it was something that I had talked about earlier this season, is wanting to see the Chiefs push the ball more, wanting to see them be more aggressive, wanting to see Mahomes trust what he was seeing down the field a little bit more. The fact that he's hanging in the pocket long enough, unfortunately, at times to get sacked, I think that's a good sign for Mahomes' faith in the scheme and faith in his receivers. Now, it's not a good sign for his offensive line that they have not played well really for 3 of the last 4 halves. I don't think they've played well. I don't think they played well at all against Denver. I don't think they played very well in the first half against Tampa Bay. I thought they were much better in the second half. So the offensive line's got to play better. Mm-hmm. But it's the tendency for Mahomes that I think augurs really well for the passing game, that there's more trust, that there's more desire to push the ball, and there's more belief that, okay, if I drop back 5 in this and I stay in this pocket, something's going to break open and we're going to have a big play. And I don't think it's a mistake that even though he has eaten 4 sacks in each of the last 2 weeks, he's also played really, really well the last 2 weeks. And you know what else he hasn't done? Thrown a pick.
I think there is a very easy explanation for why we have gotten to this point. He's got a good wide receiver.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I know it's not like DeAndre Hopkins is getting 25 targets a game, old school Brandon Marshall numbers or something. But when you know there is a guy you can go to make a play more than 6 yards down the field, that opens up everything and brings you so much more confidence when it's not, wow, I'm going to have to fit this ball between 3 defenders to Justin Watson because I literally have no better option. Xavier Worthy is currently standing over by the Gatorade bucket. I have no one else to throw to. I got to jam this in there because Mahomes' interceptions this year have been pretty ugly. Well, a lot of times in his career is just, you get picked sometimes. Some of his ones this year have been pretty bad decisions. And I think that's because there's just nobody you can rely on to make a play. Now you know somebody is going to go make a play, and he's wearing 8 and has sick dreadlocks. And that makes it a lot easier to be willing to take easier throws on every other down. So I think there's a direct correlation there. I'm not trying to say DeAndre Hopkins is the best player on the team by any means, but he's reliable more so than any of those other healthy guys are.
I just think it's a really...
And Juju being back is going to help with that too.
Yeah, I think it's a really good sign that he's holding the pocket longer. Look, Hopkins been a Chief for 3 games, right? Would you believe that the last 3 games have been 3 of the 4 highest passer rating games for Mahomes this season?
Those 3 and then week 1?
Yeah.
That actually makes perfect sense to me.
It all adds up. Now the offensive line's got to play better. They got to carry. Can't let him get hit.
Yeah.
You don't want the meal ticket to take as many hits as he has the last 2 weeks. But the fact that he's in the pocket to take those hits, that tells you they're trusting what they're seeing down the field. And this passing game, I think, is really going to take flight the better the offensive line plays moving forward. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for a little Random Question Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. Question Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. Audience participation is welcome. Top City Metal Supply text line 785-272-9429. Jump in the live chat if you're watching along on YouTube today. The channel is 580 Sports Talk. My random question today: what's something that you used to enjoy, still enjoy, but don't make the same kind of time for that you used to? For whatever reason, what's a thing that is still an interest or a hobby that you would have, but for whatever reason, you just don't have the same time for it that you used to have?
Doing anything outside of my own house. Oh, yeah, that sounds fun. Maybe someday. I'm just going to watch football. I'm being facetious, but also not really. Like,
Yeah.
it's... So you just stay home, hang out. My wife's at home. That's cool. That's fun. Like,
yes,
we'll hang.
Your favorite person is at home, and all your creature comforts, and there's no line for the bathroom. Yeah, why ever leave the house?
Easy answer for me is the NBA. It's the Bulls.
Okay.
After the 2015 playoffs, I have never quite felt the same. Let me think of another one that's not sports related here.
Texter from the 316 says your answer is Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah, that's certainly true. I don't wish him ill, but I'm all, well, whatever. That's pretty funny. What would your answer be?
Well, I'm a new parent, so everything is the answer to that question. But like specifically, there are like, I love pretty much every sport. Like, I follow them all with varying degrees of interest, but there are definitely some that I've not been able to. Like, I have not followed like international soccer, the Premier League, the way that I used to follow it. I haven't been able to get into like watching the matches on Saturday, Sunday morning, which you'd think I'm up early with the kiddo. You'd think I would, but it just hasn't happened. I've had to kind of cut a lot of golf too. I was really starting to get into watching professional golf, and I've not watched near as much of that on the weekends either. I still like to play, but following the professional game, some of that is the PGA Tour and live nonsense makes the tour a little less fun to follow, and I'm not watching that live crap. I had no interest in that. So
video games is probably another one for me. Like, I like playing games. My wife and I will play online. We'll play Mario Party or Mario Kart with my my sister-in-law and her boyfriend. Like, we'll do that from time to time. That's fun. I will occasionally go through a phase where I'm playing NCAA for days on end, but like day to day, nah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've really fired up the PlayStation. Maybe that's a secret. I gotta get my wife into it. Maybe she and I can start like a K-State dynasty on CFB 25.
That'd be fun.
Let her play quarterback.
That'd be fun. One of you can handle the recruiting. One can play the games.
Yeah.
What is your family's cure-all, in the sense that no matter what the issue is, just put this on it. Just use that. The example I would use, my dad has 2. If there's some sort of physical injury, I'll just put hydrogen peroxide on it. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'll just try it. Just hydrogen peroxide for everything. Or cleaning something in the house. Oh, yeah, use Windex. Doesn't matter what the surface is. Doesn't matter what room it's in. Yeah, just use Windex. Windex for everything.
Ginger ale.
That's a good one.
Yeah. You're not feeling right? Get a little ginger ale in you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's... I still use that. We got so much ginger ale. Like when Abby was pregnant and she was dealing with some stomach issues, we said, well, you just ginger ale settle that stomach. And I don't know that it really worked as well for her as it has worked for me over the years. Long story short, we still got a lot of ginger ale.
No, I believe that.
If you would like me to bring you a can for any reason, I've got some to spare.
Gatorade would be the closest thing for me. Like, my stomach feels kind of weird. I'm dehydrated. XYZ reasons. I'm just going to have a Gatorade.
Get some electrolytes in.
Yeah, electrolytes. That's the fix. I don't really know even what an electrolyte is, but I know I need it.
It is. It is the fix for dehydration and a fix for like if you ever had food poisoning or some kind of like 24-hour flu situation where things are coming out of you in ways that are uncomfortable. Either end. Yeah, Gatorade.
Have you ever had the flu?
Like, yeah.
Like the actual flu?
I mean, I guess I don't know.
Like, I've had a quote unquote stomach flu, but I've never actually had influenza.
I guess I don't know.
No, I've never had it. I used to never get the shot. Like, I've never had it. Why do I need to? But now, I don't know. I live with someone else and feel like I should be responsible for not keeling over any given time.
Yeah,
so
your calculations are different when you have a kid.
Also, the whole diabetes thing kind of complicates things. So,
Clayton in the YouTube comment says 7-Up was
that's a good one.
was a choice. Yeah. Mark H says orange juice. From the 785 on the text line, my dad has always put mentholatum on any cut skin issue and swears by it still. I would have to look that up.
Mentholatum?
That's old school.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's it's a thing. Yeah, I've never. You got a green box.
Yeah, you call anything an ointment. You just kind of figure, you can put that on anything.
Put that on it. Put that on it. I know Robitussin.
It was founded in Wichita.
Oh, look at that. No wonder.
How about that?
No wonder. We're going to take a quick break here at 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Monday Night Football last night, I have some thoughts about Tua Tagovailoa, who won last night, and I'm happy for him in that regard. But I have some thoughts about that interview he did with Jeff Darlington, and I want to talk about that while we wrap up the 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Couple more minutes on this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. We're with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Dolphins beat the Rams on Monday Night Football last night. Not a awesome game.
No. Rams offense kind of stinky.
Yeah, bit of a mess in the game, but it was Tua Tagovailoa's first win since returning from concussion. And he did a pregame interview with Jeff Darlington, wide-ranging pregame interview. And I guess what rubs me the wrong way about the dialogue around Tua Tagovailoa is like, the story is not some sort of like, oh, he is triumphing over the adversity of all of these brain injuries. Like, the story to me is we have an adult here making an adult decision, but we know a lot more about the consequences of the adult decision he's making, or at least the potential consequences, than we did back when this was like Steve Young retiring because of concussions, or Troy Aikman retiring because of concussions. And like, we know what the other end of that looks like, because I mean, Steve Young and Troy Aikman have come through the other side and seem to be doing well as in their lives.
Both very successful post-football.
Very successful, good broadcasters. But we also know like Mike Webster's story and Dave Duerson's story and Junior Seau's story.
Yeah.
And that's when we watch Tua, like, that's what we're afraid of now. Like, it's uncomfortable to watch him in a way that it is not uncomfortable to watch somebody coming back from like a knee surgery or multiple knee surgeries or a badly broken leg or something along those lines. And I don't think they're trying to make it equivalent, and it doesn't work for me. It's not equivalent. His injuries and like Adrian Peterson tearing an ACL or whatever, it's not the same story to me.
Yeah, HGH doesn't fix your brain, allegedly. I thought Jeff Darlington actually, because I didn't see it during Countdown. I actually just watched it during the commercial break. I think Jeff Darlington's really good at what he does.
I do too.
I thought he asked very fair questions.
I do too.
Kind of to your point. I feel the same way about Tua that I have felt from the beginning. Like I cringed when he tried to tackle an interceptor yesterday and he got hit in the head. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, it's his choice. Like, he is an adult. He is a grown adult. And if that's what he wants to do and put himself at risk, I'm not going to be the one who says, you can't do that. But I agree with you in the sense that it's a different kind of, like, it's inspiring because I like Tua Tagovailoa. It's not inspiring. It's like, wow, he overcame adversity. Man, his head is mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it's not inspiring. It's just kind of scary.
Yeah.
You cringe when you watch him, and that's a hard thing to get around. We got tiering the Big 12 teams. What is wrong with you and Michael Swain next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video stream. 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. WIBW News is the Facebook page. Gang's all here. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis. And coming up on this hour of the program, Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We'll get his thoughts on the Champions Classic coming up tonight. KU and Michigan State, the first game of that annual doubleheader. Where is this? Chicago this year?
Atlanta.
State. Is it State Farm Arena?
Yep, State Farm Arena. Well done.
That's how this mic works? It's been a while. It's been like a week. Is this how this works?
That is how that works.
It's been a week since I've been on the show.
That is how that works. In Atlanta tonight, we'll get Michael Swain's thoughts on the Champions Classic, get his thoughts on KU football's win over Iowa State, all things Jayhawks. That's why we call it Jayhawks Weekly. If it were something different, we would call it something else. So Michael Swain coming up. Bottom of this hour, also 2 new stories on what is wrong with you. I hope one of y'all needs to find a story because I got mine, and I think it's good. But one of y'all needs to fill in the blank there and get a second story for what is wrong with you.
I got it.
All right. Spencer's going to take care of that.
I trusted Spencer would do it.
You are, as always, invited.
Well, I thought you were going to do it.
And encouraged to be a part of the show today. You can text us. The Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. Again, that number, 785-272-9429. Also, if you're watching on YouTube right now, 580 Sports Talk is a YouTube channel. Hey, how's everybody doing there in YouTube land? We got a live chat feature on the YouTube page, and you can, if you're logged into your Google account or your YouTube account, you can interact with us throughout the show. You can interact with other listeners. Gary, our pal Gary, is exactly right. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, 580 Sports Talk. Show us some love. It helps out, and it's free. Gary is so right. So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, do that. You can watch the live shows, archived shows, all of our instant reaction videos, Brendan working the YouTube short game and doing so with aplomb.
On point.
You've got another great screenshot, though, of your face and an unflattering word.
For what was that?
It was the Todd Bowles one.
Yes.
Yes, it's you, and then the caption just says idiot. It's very funny.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. That one was at least intentional. The one where it just has me going like freaking out and it says awful.
Yeah,
that was unintentional.
Yeah, you've got awful and idiot. I have one that just says mistake. So choose your fighter. I'm gonna have to crop this one that says idiot and use it as a profile picture somewhere. That's pretty good. Join us on the YouTube page. We sure appreciate you doing so. Again, 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can also watch us on Facebook. If you're more of a Facebook user, you can watch us on our page, WIBW News, and you can comment over there. We appreciate those of you who watch us on Facebook as well.
My all-time favorite is one from the show, and it's Brendan with a weird face. I guess he's talking. His mouth is like it's like a freeze frame of your mouth moving, and it says awful.
Yeah,
right.
that's
yeah.
The that was the one that kind of started the trend of getting those good ones. I think that one and the one of you are back to back.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's pretty funny stuff.
Go find those on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, and if you're gonna go, you might as well subscribe while you're there.
And Paul makes a great point in the YouTube live chat. If you're in the comments or the YouTube live chat, you can say all the things that we are not allowed to say. We asked you to keep it roughly PG-13 if you can, and just know that sometimes you guys are really funny, but not in any way we can repeat. So
especially on the what is wrong with you.
Especially on the what is wrong with you sometimes. So we appreciate that. We got that coming up a little bit later on this hour as well. But we begin this 4:00 hour. An exercise that we started back at Big 12 Media Day, back before the start of the Big 12 football season. And then after 3 weeks, we had reason to, maybe rethink how we felt about the Big 12. So we did it again. Then at the midway point, we did it a third time. And now we are 9 games in to a 12-game regular season for all Big 12 teams. And it is time, one final time, to tier the Big 12. We use the website tiermaker.com. These are graphics that will go up. If you are watching the video, there will be helpful graphics so that you can follow along. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. All 3 of us have tiered the teams in the Big 12. I will go first with my tiers. The first tier is teams that can make a run in the college football playoff, and it is empty. It is empty. This has not been a good year for the Big 12 Conference. I do not believe there is a team in this conference that is capable of winning a game in the college football playoff. And the reason I say that is because the conference champion is going to get a 4 seed. You know who the 5 seed is going to be? Ohio State, probably. And if it's not them, it's going to be Oregon.
Yeah, but can you imagine if K-State beat Ohio State?
Oh, it would feed families. It would be generational.
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are all for that idea. But
it would be.
It's going to be a neutral site game. You don't even get the home field advantage that you would get if you were the number 5 seed in the playoff game. Do I think one of these teams could beat whoever the 12 seed is? Sure. But that's not how this is going to work. I think the top ranked team out of the Big 12 is going to be ranked higher than Boise State and get the 4 seed and lose to the 5 because they won't have as many dudes as Ohio State or Oregon, whoever it ends up being. So,
because Ohio State's got $25.5 million in dudes.
Yes. They've got
the best dudes money can buy.
Yes,
yeah.
they really and truly do. So it brings me no joy to say that. I don't say that with a smile on my face, but I do not think there's a team in the Big 12 that can make a run in the college football playoff. So I have an empty top tier of Big 12 teams. Second tier. This is the football gods or Mormons tier. And there's only one team in that tier, and that is BYU.
Oh, dear.
Look, man, they lead the league. They do.
They do.
Remember we had the conversation yesterday about the Chiefs, and I asked you, have you ever felt like you couldn't die? I think BYU has entered that point of this season where, by all means, they ought to be 6-3 right now.
Yeah.
And yet here they are at 9-0 and controlling their own destiny. And if they beat Kansas on Saturday, which I think Kansas can win, I kind of think Kansas will win. But it's Provo at night, not a picnic. Ask Kansas State how that goes. Kansas State entered a portal of hell I didn't even know existed.
If KU wins that game, and we are able to say that KU in Provo at night better than K-State in Provo at night, I think just tells us that Mass Street is better than Aggieville.
That would be.
I think that tells us that one of those schools has a better downtown nightlife. They were more prepared for the grind.
That would feed some different families than the thing that that we mentioned earlier.
Correct.
But no, BYU is having a charmed season. It is much like TCU's charmed season that sent them to the playoff a couple of years ago. They are objectively a good team. Do I think they're 9-0 good? No, but you are your record at some point, and they have certainly gotten the rub of the green in some really close games. And that's why I say the football gods must be Mormon, and that's why BYU is in my second tier. My third tier, good football teams. Full stop. No BS. There's teams that are good. Teams that I expect to win more often than I would expect them to lose, and that's Kansas State and Colorado. And I cannot believe that I am tiering both of those teams on the same tier after 9 games of this football season. I never would have guessed that. Colorado, give you all the credit in the world. It has been a better season than any of us could have anticipated for the Buffaloes. Give them the credit. Kansas State is about who I thought Kansas State would be. I'm not shocked that they have 2 losses at this point. I'm a little surprised who they came against. But again, that's just kind of how the dominoes have fallen. But they're going to finish probably 10-2 or 9-3, and that feels about right. That feels like about what we probably expected for this team. Maybe not quite to their ceiling, but about the expectation for that particular collection of talent. So, good football teams, K-State and CU. My next tier is the have never won 10 games in a season tier. That's Iowa State. I just don't know what to do with them because I don't think they're as good as Kansas State or Colorado, frankly. Especially right now with all the injuries they have on defense. But they are also obviously better than the rest of the group of teams we got to talk about yet. So they get their own tier. And it is a bit of a jab that they have never won 10 games in a season. So that is their tier.
They are 7-2. They need to win 2 more regular season games and a bowl game. I do not think they will play in Arlington. They need to win 2 more regular season games and a bowl game to get to 10 wins. Cincinnati, at Utah, K-State, bowl game. Are there 3 wins there?
I mean, there should be. I think 2-2 is probably likelier, but I mean, if they were healthier on defense, I would say absolutely. They're missing a lot of guys.
They are at home in prime time against Scott Satterfield on Big Fox on Saturday. If they don't win that game, they will not get to 10 this year.
No, that's definitely a fact. Next tier of teams, the day ruiners. These are teams of varying quality that you don't want to play right now because of the way that they have played and just kind of the chaos agents that they have proven to be throughout this weird Big 12 football season. The day ruiners are Arizona State, Kansas, Houston, Baylor, and Texas Tech. It's not fun to play any of those teams, and any one of them is capable of beating you if you put the wrong foot forward. I think though all of those teams are now. There's varying quality in the day ruiner tier, like Arizona State 7-2. Kansas is 3-6, but right now those are day ruiners.
Mm-hmm.
You sing the wrong notes against those teams, they're gonna mess your stuff up.
Uh-huh.
They're gonna ruin your afternoon or your evening. So those are the day ruiners: Arizona State, Kansas, Houston, Baylor, and Texas Tech.
I see in the graphic you posted, you put Baylor before Texas Tech. I am familiar with your game. I know you wanted it to say but.
It says but. Actually.
But yes,
yeah, I did that on purpose. You're correct. I have the purgatory tier: Cincinnati, UCF, TCU, West Virginia. Purgatory is, as I believe it's Tyler Childers who says this, hell with hope.
Yes.
And that is where these teams find themselves. Hell with varieties of hope. Like West Virginia's played some good football at times this year. They've only got 2 conference losses. TCU has scored a bunch of points at times this year. UCF maybe's found their quarterback. Cincinnati, better than any of us expected. But also, nobody takes these teams particularly seriously. And I think there are questions about the leadership of all 4 of those programs moving forward. Like, does any of those 4 teams feel like they've got the coach that's going to get them to being a year in, year out contender in the Big 12? I would say firmly no.
No.
So that is why I say purgatory. Hell with short-term hope. Maybe not a lot of long-term hope. And then there's actual hell, and that's where Oklahoma State, Utah, and Arizona find themselves. Those teams are all in actual real-life hell. Like Dante's Inferno for all of those teams. Oklahoma State had been to a bowl every year since 2005. They're not going to a bowl this year. Utah's AD showed his entire ass on the podium after they lost the Holy War.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona is like asking some serious questions about their first-year head coach, which is never a good place to be. Those teams have all had miserable, disappointing years. They are all in hell. That concludes Dan Lucero's Big 12 football tiers.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue with too much of that.
All right. So those are mine. Brendan, you get second choice here. Let's throw your tiers up on the screen. Walk us through them.
All right. So I went here with 6 groups as well. My number 1, in honor of the head of the table, the true tribal chief, the OTC, Roman Reigns. Acknowledge him. Kansas State and Colorado, they are your tribal chiefs. They are the heads of the table right now. They are the favorites to make it to Arlington, in my opinion, based on the remaining schedules for everybody left. I don't trust BYU quite as much. Those are the 2 best teams in the conference right now. The way they're playing right this second, even with K-State coming off of that loss, I put them at the top. Number 2, my second tier is not locked in, but they do have their AA advantage miles ready. Iowa State and BYU. I think they could make it to Arlington. I think it is possible. I do not think they will. I think BYU is going to come crashing back down to earth. As I told you yesterday, I will tell you today, and I'll tell you every other day this week. I think KU is going to beat BYU at night in Provo under the lights coming up on Saturday night. Iowa State, are they still alive? Yeah. Do I believe in them? No. But is it possible that they could make it there? Should they have their preferred flyer mile card out already? Yes. I think they should at least be prepared to use it. Get the plastic out. My middle tier, 3rd out of 6. Interesting. Essentially what you had as well, Dan. Slightly different group, though. I've got Kansas. I think Kansas is interesting. I think Kansas can make it to a bowl game this year. I think they beat BYU. Oh, yeah, that's still on the table. Baylor.
They found their quarterback. Sawyer Robertson looked like a good player.
Yep, and they are. I mean, I thought Dave Aranda was going to already be fired, to be honest with you. And right now, they only need 1 more to make it to a bowl game.
I thought they were going to fire him at halftime against BYU.
Yeah, I thought they were going to fire. I thought they were going to leave him on the field after that loss to Colorado. But they've won 3 games in a row. They have 5 wins West Virginia, Houston, KU. They need to win one of those, and that's a bowl team. And I thought they were going to win 2 games all year.
They felt like a 3-win team. Yeah.
So credit to Dave Aranda and credit to Baylor. I would consider that to be an interesting team. West Virginia, again, I thought West Virginia was pretty much done. Like, are they going to win anything of major importance? No. What are they going to do with Neil Brown? I think that storyline is interesting. So I will put them on there. They've won 2 games in a row. Baylor, UCF, Texas Tech, all winnable games the rest of the way for them. Arizona State. Yeah, man. They're fun. They're 7-2.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
They won without Scadaboo last week.
That's the thing that makes them kind of amazing, honestly.
And here's the other thing, that they got a redshirt freshman quarterback. Their best wide receiver is a sophomore. Kenny Dillingham's building something there. They are worth monitoring.
I've been banging that drum all year,
Arizona
man.
State.
He can really coach. Now, they have a tough end to the year. Kansas State on the road in Manhattan versus BYU, and then Arizona. Arizona we'll get to in a minute. They're not good. That is a nasty rivalry. That is maybe not quite as nasty as the Holy War, but Arizona and Arizona State people do not like each other at all. That's a throw the record books out kind of game. But I think Arizona State's interesting. They run the table. They'd be 10-2 with only 2 conference losses. They might need to be in the AA Advantage Miles tier. Like, it's not
they might.
Completely out of it. I love Kenny Dillingham. Texas Tech, because I just don't get it. Like, week to week, they could be the best team in America or the worst. I really don't know what to make of them. So they're interesting. Also, it's interesting to me that Scott Satterfield also has not been fired and that they have a winning record.
Yeah, they do.
That's hard for me to believe that team has it. Number 4, hope your APR is in good shape, because that's the only way these teams are going to get to a bowl game this year. UCF, disappointment.
Yes.
I think everyone would agree that's a disappointment. Arizona, also disappointment this year. Arizona comes into this weekend 1-5 in the Big 12, 3-6 overall.
And they're only favored by 1 against Houston this week.
Not good. I'd rather be Houston right now. And I've also, in fact, got, fittingly, Dan, Houston in this tier. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's positive.
For them, that's a good thing.
Like, shoot, you graduated enough kids, you might make it to a bowl game this year. Good for you. Tier 5 out of 6, TCU. The only team is TCU. Are they good? Are they bad? Is Sonny Dykes actually terrible? Like, is anyone on that team good?
They are TCU.
Are they a really good, bad team, or are they a really bad, good team? They're TCU. And then finally, don't waste my time. Oklahoma State and Utah. I'm done. Don't bother. Don't waste my time with those schools. I'm done with that.
All right, those are Brendan's tiers. Spencer, how are you tiering the Big 12? Let's throw your graphic.
You got mine. I want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. These 2 of these 4 teams are like almost a lock for. So what I said, there was a little too much or not enough space for my second one, so we'll go into that. But playoff contenders, I've got BYU, Kansas State, and then I wanted to flip Colorado and Iowa State. Iowa State still got their chance.
Sure.
I think those are the 4 teams that if anybody makes the playoffs, you're going to see one of those teams. What I wanted to say here was Arlington is a possibility, question mark, maybe Frisky, like something like that with Arizona State and Texas Tech. Like, there's a chance you could see them in Arlington, but it's a very slim chance. Then my next one is just, good job. You made a bowl bid this year, probably. If you can get things together, you can get a bowl bid. I got West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF, TCU, BYU, and Houston.
Baylor.
Yeah. I don't know.
And Kansas.
I was going to get to Kansas. Okay. Kansas. You've got me. You've got my hope. You are the interesting. Can we do a case study on you? The last time we tiered. I don't know. I don't think this team could still make a bowl. They got to have a lot of things go their way and win 3-4 straight games. But there's still a chance for them to make a bowl. Better luck next year. I have Oklahoma State and Arizona. And then my last year, stop whining. You guys can guess who's in there.
Utah's got their own tier.
Stop whining.
Funny. That's perfect. I have no notes.
I just saw a video on Twitter of the hold at the end of BYU Utah, shot from the crowd. I am going to be as honest and fair as I can be. Utah does not have a leg to stand on. This is clear as day. You cannot grab a player under the shoulder pads running a route. This is actually extremely clear. That is a penalty all day.
I saw what you saw. That's the most I've actually, like, they had like the Zapruder film. Like, I couldn't swear that he grabbed.
How does ESPN not have a better camera
than some jabroni in Section 6? Like,
right.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes. Twitter user NashDPT12, his cousin apparently has better cameras than ESPN. But yeah, like he's grabbing the dude by the shoulder. This is very clearly a hold. So yeah, this is even worse for Mark Harmon or whatever his name is.
I don't think it's Mark Harmon.
Mark Harmon.
Tom Harmon. Mark Harmon is Jethro
Mark
Gibbs.
Harlan.
Yeah. I don't know.
Tom Harmon was old 98 for Michigan back in the 40s.
Yeah, I care about this man as much as I care about the guy who's on NCIS. Is he still on NCIS? You're my CBS plug.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, he has this there. Well, technically, I guess they've created this NCIS origin show where it's about his like coming up in naval investigative services, and he narrates it.
We have sports to get to, so I'm not going to air my grievances with the fact that CBS runs nothing but just recreations of shows that have already existed for a long time. But I have some.
Hollywood is out of ideas, just
completely,
broadly speaking. Also, Mark Harmon is Tom Harmon's son.
Yes, Tom Harmon played for Michigan. Yes. Mark Harmon was his kid, who also played football.
Yes, quite well. In fact, he was an NJCAA All-American, played at UCLA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the starting quarterback at UCLA.
Yeah. And then went on to
be Jethro Gibbs on NCIS.
Leroy Jethro Gibbs.
Sorry.
This is why Spencer is my CBS
Put some
plug.
respect on his name.
Not proper deference to Leroy Jethro Gibbs of NCIS. We got to take a break. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up. Michael Swain's going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly. That's all still to come this hour of 580 Sports Talk. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. Two news stories competing today to try to take down our Monday champion. Totally screwed. 54-year-old James Denman, who just threw hundreds of nails and screws across the road and parking areas in Vermont, including underneath a parked police cruiser. Why? Nobody knows.
Yeah, no motive. Nothing.
Who can fathom the mind of a Vermont man, I suppose. I'm going to go first.
Me, when I bet on America East basketball.
I'm going to go first with my story today. We're going to Huntington County, Pennsylvania, and I don't understand how this happened. I know we got some active hunters, people who enjoy hunting, who listen to the program. I've never been hunting. You're going to have to coach me and educate me through this. 785-272-9429 is the top female supply text line. I don't understand how this happens, but a local hunter was hospitalized Saturday morning after he was mistaken for game and shot by a fellow hunter. Happened in Barry Township just after 10 a.m. on Saturday. The victim, an archery hunter. I didn't know archeries were in season.
Could be in different states.
Bruh.
I don't know. I know nothing about hunting, too.
Spencer missed the joke.
You ever shot a bow and arrow?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah. I did it at Boy Scout camp.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, are archeries particularly hard to hunt?
All right.
So the way it reads,
get your wordplay
says
out of here.
The victim, an archery hunter, was reportedly exiting the woods when they were shot by a turkey hunter. So one guy is hunting turkeys and the other guy is hunting archery.
Yeah, this is very poorly written.
Yes.
Yeah.
WJAC television, you do better.
Thankfully, the victim had non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators say both the shooter and victim have been identified by authorities. Their names are not being released.
No,
to
release
spare
these
them
names.
embarrassment, I suppose. I just
Let them be shamed.
I feel like I've seen hunting gear. I'm familiar with hunting gear, right? Like very bright, lots of bright colors,
a lot of orange.
The idea is to try to make yourself very distinguishable from, for instance, apparently a turkey. You would like to dress in a way that would make it very obvious that, no, you are just a humble bow hunter and not a turkey.
Oh, man, that one's big and meaty. Oh, no.
No, that's George.
No, George.
So, from the 785, this is what I was looking for. Thank you to the top female supply text line. Archers tend to wear heavy camouflage. So, apparently, maybe not as much orange as you would be if you were a rifle hunter.
Yes.
By comparison. So that's what I was looking for. Thank you to our texter from the 785 for clearing that up for me and making me understand how this could happen a little better. But
remember when the vice president shot someone in the face while hunting?
Spencer, what is wrong with you? I do. Yes. Spencer, what is wrong with
censored. Go ahead, Spencer.
Let's go to Lakeland, Florida. A convicted felon will spend the next 4 decades behind bars for firing at federal agents while leading them on a multi-county high-speed chase through Plant City and Lakeland. Francisco Cabrera, 29, of Dover.
Man, what a tragic fall from grace from the guy who drove in the winning run in the 1992 National League Championship Series against the Pirates.
Was he like 2? Not even born yet? He robbed 2 stores and a gas station in Plant City and Brandon between January 13th and 17th of 2022. During those robberies, officers say he held victims at gunpoint. At times, he removed the magazine from his pistol and showed bullets to victims and stated, "This is for real," or "Give me the money or I will shoot you."
Oh, wow. Real creative line.
On January 19th, 2022, Cabrera went back to the gas station he had robbed and carjacked the man while the man was sitting inside a truck outside. While he was driving away, authorities say he brandished his firearm at others who tried to stop him and help the victim. Later that day, detectives from Lakeland PD and agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF, found the Cabrera in Plant City. The law enforcement officers began chasing him with their lights and sirens. He got on I-4 and headed towards Lakeland, going 100 miles per hour. Quote, "This wasn't a movie, it was reality," Hillsborough County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Marr said. Task force officers, police officers, federal agents put their life on the line to apprehend an evil individual. During an 11-mile chase, Cabrera nearly crashed into a truck, drove through red lights and into oncoming traffic, causing other vehicles to take evasive action, and nearly missed hitting other vehicles. While speeding away from law enforcement officers, he opened fire at them and the federal agents, firing approximately 8 to 15 gunshots at 7 different police officers. On one occasion, he fired at 2 different officers who were in front of him outside their vehicles attempting to deploy spike strips, striking front of the hood of one of the vehicles.
So
basically, he's not a good dude.
Yeah, and he's going to prison for 38 years.
Yes.
It is not, by the way, the same Francisco Cabrera who drove in Sid Bream to win the pennant for the Braves in 1992.
Nice.
That Francisco Cabrera is 58 years old. That's the difference.
Slight difference.
The primary difference. Anyway, that guy or that's not a turkey, you turkey. Who wins today?
I'm going to go with Spencer's story. That guy is off his rocker.
Yeah.
Very bad man. Very evil.
Like, you're
as the
dead to
sheriff was.
rights, and you're going on a 100-mile-an-hour police chase, and you're shooting at everyone, every officer known to man.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, but I'm going to actually stick with Totally Screwed from yesterday. Just throwing nails on the road.
Yeah,
just
for no real good reason.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that one for the week.
Yeah, I think that that will move on. Totally Screwed continues on as our What Is Wrong With You champion for the week. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael covers all things KU for Fog.net. It is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscribe today. Become a VIP. Get all of the best, most timely, most incisive insider information on Kansas athletics from Michael. You can follow him on Twitter as well, at mswain247. Basketball tonight, Michael. So we'll start there. But before we get to the matchup that tips off in less than an hour in Atlanta between KU and Michigan State, You go back to Friday night and the Jayhawks 92-89 victory over North Carolina. More enthused by KU building the 20-point lead and winning the game, or more alarmed by how easily it got away from them in the second half?
Yeah, let's go positive here. I think it's really impressive, the fact that I think this team generally was able to put together that type of performance in the first half. And look, I think if you look at the second half super in depth, like you can see some kind of questionable calls. I'm not sure if the officials are in midseason form yet either, right? They've got to get up to the level as well. And I'm not sure that that call or that game was maybe officiated as tightly as it maybe, could have been, or as well as it could have been. But I think from what you saw from Kansas, super encouraged, right? You look at Zeke Mayo in his first real blue blood style of game and playing against one of the best, trio of guards, I think, in the country. And he looked like he belonged. And that's super encouraging, because that was one of the, I wouldn't say concerns, but one of the questions I had about Zeke was, hey, when you do play the elite of the elite in college basketball, can he get his own? Can he get his shot off? How is he able to do? And I thought he played really, really well. Yeah, he went cold in the second half, but look, he got open. And those are open shots that you'd expect a player like him to make more than, I think, 3 of 9. So I was really encouraged by him. AJ Storr, I thought, looked really positive. He's someone that I wonder if he will be a big game player for KU, just the nature of what Bill Self wants for him, to be aggressive. And maybe if that lends itself more to bigger games and bigger stages when you are more apt to be locked in. And then I think if you want to look at the negative side, right, KU's got to get better perimeter defensively. That's going to be a work in progress, because guys like Mayo, AJ Storr, David Coit, new guys, right, that have to play on the perimeter. It's going to take some time to get used to guarding the way Bill Self wants to guard with Hunter Dickinson at center. So yeah, I think overall I'm more encouraged than discouraged by that performance, and I'm really interested to see how KU looks tonight.
Between Zeke Mayo and AJ Storr and Flory Badunga, and we haven't even seen Shaquille Moore yet, but we know he's going to factor in the rotation as well. Added into the 5 guys who've been starting the games for Kansas to this point, when was the last time KU had this many playable guys, like guys who aren't just, we need a breather for one of our studs, we'll put this guy in for 3 minutes, he'll run around? Like, when was the last time KU had this many playable guys? Because it feels like you got to go back a ways.
It does. I think the title team in 22 had a little bit of that with Remy off the bench. You knew what you were going to get from Mitch Lightfoot. And then you had some like Jalen Coleman-Lands who kind of come in and do some stuff for you if you needed. And I feel like Coit might turn into that a little bit for KU this year, the Coleman-Lands style of player, where there are some games where you need that spark and he will give you something because he's experienced and he's got the right mentality. And then I think just generally for KU, like I really don't know, though, how often you can think back to teams that had this high quality of depth, right? You're talking about a second team All Big Ten player coming off the bench, a 5-star recruit coming off the bench, the Summer League Player of the Year coming off the bench. When Shaquille Moore's back, right? You're talking about a guy that started for multiple seasons in the SEC coming off the bench. It's incredible. And I think so many times, right, it's kind of a joke, I think, sometimes in the summertime, right? Is this the most deep KU team since? And that's a conversation I feel like that's been had many a summer. And shoot, guys, I think this might be the time that it's actually true. I just can't think back to the last time a team has had this much talent coming off the bench. And that's really encouraging for KU in the long run this year.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks better than anyone over at fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Follow him on Twitter as well, at mswain247. Joins us for Jayhawk Weekly every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Michael, I had no problem really with all things considered, big picture that game on Friday against North Carolina, except for one thing. I don't think this team is going to be at their best if KJ Adams is playing 37 minutes. I get why he played so much in that game, and I'm not one of the, the KU followers, supporters, whatever, who hates KJ for one reason or another. I think he's a good player, albeit limited. What do you think is a good number and a reasonable number? Because as much as some fans want it, like Bill Self's never going to play KJ Adams 12 minutes a game. Like that's just never going to happen. So what is a good realistic number you think for KJ this year?
I love it. Let's get into the message board conversation. This is something that's going to be going on.
I know you read them as much as I do.
Trust me, I'm there. I think 28 I look at it and say 28. I think that feels like a good number for me. Um, Michael Swain, the basketball coach, 22. But I think we all know what Bill Self
Right.
values and what KJ brings you in terms of his effort, intensity, the versatility on defense, what he can bring to you, whether you like it or not, as a creator on offense, right? He's going to bring a lot of stuff. And I think the key for KU this year is going to be finding the right lineup combinations to go around KJ. And I don't know if the DeJuan Hunter KJ lineup is going to be it. But I'll tell you what isn't going to be it either, the DeJuan KJ Flory lineup, because I think you've seen it a couple times this year where Flory and KJ have played at the same time. They occupied the same spaces, and you just can't have that. And so I do wonder if at times this year you are going to see something like a Coit Mayo Store Adams Dickinson lineup, or Rylan Griffin instead of Store, where you've got kind of 2-3 guys that can space the floor, and then you have KJ as kind of your non-floor spacing player. I think those are going to be kind of the types of lineups that maybe you can run with KJ a little bit more. And then, when you throw Flory in, then you also try and get some more of those kind of floor spacers out there. But I think generally 28 feels like the right number. And then it's going to be about who you pair KJ with to mitigate his weaknesses that are rebounding and shooting, and also amplifying his strengths, which are playing in transition, attacking the rim, and being a switchable defender on defense.
I was getting worried when he started to say his weaknesses like rebounding and shooting, which is not especially good for a 4 who's his height. But I understand exactly where you're coming from. One guy you mentioned in there who I am so excited about, Rylan Griffin, who we already know has a sweet stroke from 3. He's a good athlete. He can play at least a little defense. I mean, he started for a Final Four team last year. He's obviously a good player. What do you think when we get to mid-season, into tournament time, KU hopefully firing on all cylinders, what do you think Rylan Griffin's role on this team is going to be? Is it just going to be catch and shoot guy playing 21 minutes a game, or do you think that there is more to Rylan Griffin that he can offer this year?
I think what you said there's probably, if we're going to do range of outcomes, that feels like the happy medium here. I think he can offer KU a little bit more. A lot's going to depend on how he does defensively and how he progresses on that end. I think a lot of it's going to come down to, hey, AJ Store, man, like, what are you giving Bill Self every night? Because I think those two are kind of the two yo-yos here, or seesaw, right? Where, Rylan's minutes are going to go up and maybe AJ's go down. AJ's go up and Rylan's go down. And so I think those two are going to be the guys that are competing for kind of those minutes at the 3. I think for Rylan, man, he is so elite at catching and shooting the ball from 3. And it's such a simple thing, but when you look at what it does to a defense, you cannot leave him alone. Because if you do, you are letting him do the thing that he is the best at. And for him, like, every time he shoots guys, I'm like, oh, all right, that's probably going to go. It isn't. And when it misses, you're kind of like, oh, wow, what happened there? And so really hammering in on that kind of role shot selection is really important for him, because I think there was one shot against Carolina where he took an off the dribble 3 and it just didn't look the same. And I think in the long run, that's something he's going to want to improve on. But I think early in the season, really leaning into that catch and shoot 3 for him is going to be really important. I think in the long run this season, he's someone that's going to play some vital minutes. I think he's going to close some games for KU at times. And I really think he's going to be a valuable player, even if he's not playing 30 minutes a game.
Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Michael, tonight, Champions Classic. It's KU. It's Michigan State. What is the one thing that most intrigues you about this matchup from KU's perspective tonight?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how KU does in 2 facets, right? I think, look, Michigan State's guards are not at the same level, I don't think, as Arkansas or North Carolina. But they've got some good players. Like Atkins is a really, really good player. First of all, I'm interested to see how KU goes against a shooting guard like this. That isn't going to be a super on-the-ball player, right? They play with the point guard next to him. And so it's a question of, all right, how do you approach that if you're KU? And then I think just guarding generally, right? That's something that's going to take some time that we talked about earlier. How can KU do guarding Michigan State? Generally, I think this is a game KU should probably win by double digits. I just don't see it with Michigan State, and kind of reading some of the stuff from the beat going on there. I think there's a lot more questions about this team and how things are going to fit and what's going to look like. And I feel like, look, at the new team for KU, but it feels like Bill Self kind of found some stuff here early in the season that can help you win some games right now. So I think for KU, right, how can you do guarding someone like Atkins, who's more of a focal point? And then how can you really limit some of your own weaknesses on the defensive end of the floor?
Michael, let's flip over to football as we're chatting with Michael Swain of Fog.net, joining us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Great win for KU this past weekend against Iowa State. Got the big defensive play late. Closed the game. A big play to close the game. How incredible is that? It is doable. Devin Neal, obviously historic day. He is just such a superstar. Jalen Daniels looked good overall. Now you get BYU. It is under the lights. It'll be nighttime in Provo, in the mountains, a very difficult place to play. Go ask K-State. That is not an easy matchup under the lights. Is it ridiculous for me to not just say KU can win, but to think KU is going to win on Saturday night?
I wouldn't say ridiculous. Based on
all
the
right, I'll take
chart,
it.
No. I think you look at like form chart, right? Which teams are playing really well, and obviously rivalry games are kind of crazy in and of itself. But BYU's played a really physical game, one that's going to turn out to be pretty controversial, and KU kind of had a smoother, you could say, performance, and I think KU's playing really good football right now. Look, going and beating BYU at that altitude, on the road, in that environment, at night, when all those fans are hopped up on, the cattails and stuff, it's going to be tough. And the good thing for KU is they have played in a really tough environment in Manhattan earlier this year, and they performed really well, right? You cannot deny that KU played solid football against K-State. They just made one too many mistakes, and that's going to help them going into this game. Am I going to pick KU to win it? Nope, definitely not. But I think if you told me KU comes out with a win, I would say I am not surprised. It's just not something I'm going to pick.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks at Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscription is a great value. You are so much more informed on your favorite teams, particularly the Jayhawks, with Michael's outstanding work. He joins us every Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, enjoy the Champions Classic tonight. Hey, at least you don't have to be up till midnight watching the KU game this year.
Oh, I'm so thankful for the 5:30 tip-off. I'm so happy right now.
Hey, thanks for the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Talk to you guys then.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk after this. We started this hour of the show talking Big 12 football. We got a really funny question in the YouTube live chat from Ron Brown. Can OU come back to the Big 12 if they pay another $50 million?
Yeah,
I
sure.
I think that money might be tied up. They might be looking at a buyout sooner rather than later. No pun, no pun intended, I swear.
So if they wanted to come back and had to pay $50 million, that would get distributed among the other members of the conference. I don't know. I think KU or K-State would take $3.1 million.
Yeah, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to add on caveats here. Yes, $50 million buy-in fee. You have to extend Brent Venables.
See, that's why they're not going to have the money.
3-year locked in.
They're
you
going
must
to
keep Brent Venables. That is your probationary
they're going
period.
to unextend Brent Venables. I fear
It's bad, dude.
Gotten to that point.
I don't like to speak ill of native Kansan, K-Stater, guy a lot of people have a lot of admiration for, and a tremendous assistant coach. But you also have to be able to, watch these games with your eyes open and know when something isn't working.
Yeah.
And that ain't anything like working there.
So many years of Oklahoma being a fun watch, and now they are miserable. Which, I don't feel bad for them at all. But
No.
yuck.
They whiffed on quarterback, plainly.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold. Yikes.
Yeah.
He is bad. Bad.
I wonder if USC and Oklahoma would swap coaches.
No.
Like, OU would take Lincoln Riley back.
I don't think they would. I really do not.
Final hour of 580 Sports Talk is coming up. We got our headlines. We got a Champions Classic preview. We might even talk a little Royals baseball. That's all still to come here on this final hour of 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk for this Tuesday. Gang's all here for a little bit longer. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis. Bit of wardrobe change for Brendan. I knew it was coming, but it was a funny thing to say out loud.
I figured it was coming too, because when I came to take over controls, there's like a pair of jeans in here, and I was like,
Yeah, I did change.
huh? Oh yeah.
Game coming up.
Brendan has Washburn basketball tonight. Home opener for the 10th ranked team in the country, the Ichabod men.
That's right. Taking on the Ottawa Braves today, who are 4-1, by the way, in NAIA competition so far. Washburn's the number 10 team in the country in the coaches poll. And according to the advanced metrics, the Massey ratings, number 2 in the entire country. They are awesome. Come out and see them, Lee Arena, tonight. You can also listen to the game over on our sister station, Country 106.9.
Yes, do that if you aren't able to make it out to Lee Arena. But as I have said before, you should make it out to Lee Arena, and you should watch some Ichabod basketball this season. The men are going to be entertaining, and they're going to play a really fun style of basketball. They're going to be really freaking good. And with a bit of a power vacuum now at the top of the MIAA, with Ben McCollum finally getting the Division I head coaching opportunity that he so richly deserved, and departing the Northwest Missouri State program, which he turned into an absolute wagon who sort of sucked the drama out of each MIAA season with the inevitability of them winning it every year, it felt like. Who better than the Bods to step into that power vacuum and run things this year? I think they got a chance.
Yes, they absolutely have a chance. And I know that's partially Homer talking and us being, close to the program and caring about the program a lot talking, but this team's really good, man. Andrew Orr, MIAA athlete of the week, for this week. They've got the guard play. They've got veteran presence. They've got one of the best coaches in the country, for my money, in Brett Ballard. This team is going to be special this year. Really, really excited about it. And tonight, game against Ottawa. Again, NAIA competition is a little bit different. A little different than playing Mankato, number 1 team in the nation in D2. But that's a 4-1 team in the NAIA, and a team that last year put up 76 on Washburn, which is higher than Washburn gave up per game on average. So It'll be a good test tonight. And hard to beat a home opener.
Yeah. At 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock tip at Lee Arena. If you can't make it out, Brendan's got the call on our sister station, your home for Ichabod basketball all season long, Country 106.9. So he will depart after a little bit here. Myself and Spencer Dupuis will be with you until 6 o'clock. We're going to talk a little Champions Classic. They are 20 minutes from tip-off in Atlanta between KU and Michigan State. The early window for KU, and it's been shifted forward a little bit. So we're going to do our best. I have the game on in the studio. I have ESPN on. They're running SportsCenter right now. But we'll do our best not to provide like any actual play-by-play, but we'll keep you up to date as best as we are legally able to.
Charlie Baker will show up in studio and assault us if we give play-by-play.
I have always taken the disclaimer very seriously that these broadcasts may not be retransmitted without the express written consent of the parties involved. I only ever get to the level of implied oral consent.
So when I was in college at KU, I got to go cover the NCAA tournament and call games a couple of times with student radio in 2016 and 2017. We play the games I called. It was KU versus Maryland in the Sweet 16 in 2016. And then I called KU Michigan State, actually, in the second round of the 2017 tournament. And I'm not kidding. One of my favorite parts of the experience was getting to do the express written consent liner during the game. Coming back from the first media timeout, they gave us a sheet of paper and said, you must read this if you were broadcasting the game. And it was awesome. I felt like such a professional at the time. It was so cool.
Yeah, I did when I was at my last station, we did D2 college football playoffs. And we did on TV. I had to literally go to the website and download what's the NCAA, whatever their like spot website is where they have all the spots.
Yeah. Right.
I had to go download that, and like apparently they tweaked it from one year to another. So what I had saved from the previous year was wrong, and we got told that like doing week 2 of the playoffs, they told us that like, hey, that's wrong. You need to go get the new one. And I was like, what's the dang difference?
That's funny. I won't be here when you do your full predictions. 6.5 is the line. Do you like that?
I do. I think KU wins by more than 6.5.
But you can also find it still at 5.5 some places.
Interesting.
I will not tell you where, but if you like to bet and you like ESPN, that is an option.
I have just seen the starting lineup tonight for the Jayhawks against the Spartans, and one change from Friday night against North Carolina. Biggie Coit out, Zeke Mayo in.
Not a surprise given how well Zeke played the other day. Also, I mean, Bill Self has told us there are going to be games when the best option, the best matchup in the starting lineup is Zeke Mayo. There will be games when that option is Diggy Coit. There will be games when that's AJ Storr. And that's good. You should want that if you're KU. You should want to be able to mix and match and play different guys against different matchups and move the minutes around like we were talking about with Michael during the last segment for Jayhawk Weekly. All of those things are good for this KU team. So I've got no problem. And Zeke was awesome against North Carolina. He was so good. It was such a meaningful game to him. I'm all about it.
So let's go ahead before we get into that and a Stray Royals thought, because it looks like they're announcing the Silver Sluggers today. So we might have breaking award news.
They should be plastering that everywhere, not just. You love baseball.
I do.
You are approaching this like, oh, I guess that's happening. No, be out in front of people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, big news today. Silver Sluggers going out. This is huge. This is awesome. I mean, it's happening.
They do Gold Gloves in like the middle of the day. In 2020, they did Gold Gloves on election night. You may recall that was a presidential election year.
Just ridiculous.
And they handed out Gold Gloves that night. Yeah, Rob Manfred, as always, could screw up a 2-car funeral. But let's get into our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And let's start, if we may, with a little NFL news. We talked about it yesterday on the show as, wait, why hasn't this been done already? Well, it has been done. The Chicago Bears have fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron after just 9 games in charge. Matt Eberflus covering his own hide a little bit, making a change on his coaching staff. Spent less than 10 months on the job. Thomas Brown has been promoted from passing game coordinator to offensive coordinator. He becomes the 7th different play caller for the Bears in the last 10 seasons.
I believe that's the 8th departure or firing or resignation on Eberflus's staff.
You are correct about that. How does that not get you fired?
It's going to get him fired.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he'll be fired, but
yeah,
I can't imagine not doing it right now. But the Bears never have. The Bears have never fired a coach in over 100 years mid-season.
Sometimes there are head coaches and you watch them and you think, okay, well, it didn't work out for them here, but maybe in a different time, different scenario, maybe it works out a little differently, different organization. Maybe he earns a second chance or maybe deserves a second chance. Matt Eberflus is never going to be a head coach in the NFL again. I can tell you that immediately.
Yes. Matt Eberflus's last 2 picks as offensive coordinators have now been let go by both their teams this year. The Raiders let go Luke Getsy, their former offensive coordinator.
That's true.
Shane Waldron is like the one apple that fell from the Sean McVay coaching tree that has ended up being rotten.
I had the same thought. Everybody, Zach Taylor's still kicking. Liam Cohen looks like the next big thing.
Yeah.
People are going to be
Cohen
climbing all over themselves to hire him this offseason.
Maybe even the Bears.
Be the Bears head coach.
You know who should hire him? I know I'm getting off topic here. You know who should hire him? Tampa. Fire Todd Bowles today.
Yeah.
And just say, Liam Cohen, you got the job. Because if you promote your own coordinator, I don't think you have to follow the Rooney Rule. Which, I'm not advocating for not, interviewing minority candidates. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying, why even bother? Hire him.
Yeah.
I would.
So Shane Waldron out, had spent 3 seasons as the offensive coordinator in Seattle, impressing, I can tell you with firsthand experience, pretty much nobody. It's not a very good scheme that he has. I don't understand why. All the other McVay guys from the McVay/Shanahan tree, really creative stuff and good scheme. And Shane Waldron is like, here's an out route. Here's another out route. Do you like out routes?
And those out routes are on top of each other.
Yes.
They were going to end up in the exact same spot.
Middle of the field. What's that? Between the hashes is lava.
Yeah.
He stinks.
He's bad.
So, yeah, that's an NFL headline. Another NFL headline today. This was expected, but it is now confirmed. It will be season-ending injury for Dallas Cowboys, or surgery for Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. He is having surgery to repair the partial avulsion of his hamstring. What that means is it came off the bone.
It
Ow.
sounds delicious, but you don't want like human meat to come off the bone.
No.
That's not good. Should we throw Spencer a bone here and get to the other rumor about the Bears today?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right. So this is from Mark Silverman, who's a longtime sports talk host in Chicago. Big influence of mine personally. He hosts afternoons on ESPN Radio Chicago. He also hosts the studio show on the Bears radio network these days. So he posted this in reaction to Shane Waldron being fired on Twitter today. After talking to a few people with knowledge of the situation, players went to Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles asking them to make a change at offensive coordinator. There have also been a few veteran players requesting that Tyson Bagent starts at quarterback over Caleb Williams.
Let's go.
Here's the thing. Mark Silverman is covering for DJ Moore because this was DJ Moore. And if you think maybe it wasn't DJ Moore, you're wrong. This was DJ Moore, who hates Caleb Williams. Never wanted him drafted, hates Caleb Williams. This is DJ Moore, which, like, bro, that's a wild thing to put out there in the public, even anonymously. That's crazy. I'm happy for your guy, though.
Yeah, I still don't understand. Like, great guy, great player. Like, I liked talking with him every week on the show I had with him. I don't get how he stuck around as the backup because, like, to me,
DJ Moore loves him.
No, to me, you'd want to get a veteran in there on a 1-year deal, like Washington did with Marcus Mariota. Like somebody there to help Caleb Williams along. And not that I don't like Tyson Bagent because I like him, a great guy, but like I think that maybe the Bears made a wrong decision there.
No, I don't disagree with you whatsoever. It's
because apparently Marcus Mariota has done so much for Jaden Daniels in Washington.
Well, that's what you want from a veteran quarterback. That's why teams bring in guys. That's why Chase Daniel was around for forever. That's why Charlie Whitehurst got to play for multiple teams. Like the Trent Dilfer hung around for forever. John Kitna, like they provide something. Kitna was the predecessor to Carson Palmer, if I remember correctly, in Cincinnati.
I think that's right.
And then stuck around after Palmer got the job. All right, next headline for me. This one from college basketball. The Champions Classic will begin in 12 minutes. Will it actually is this going to be like ESPN's NBA coverage, and it actually won't start till like
5:46? Yeah, something
That's
stupid.
probably what it'll be.
Such a pain in the ass. But the Champions Classic has also been extended through the year 2028. They will keep this event going. This is from Bill Self today. Said, quote, the Champions Classic is a great way to tip off the basketball season, and we look forward to continuing that through 2028. Every year, all eyes are on these two games. The Champions Classic is great, not only for the players, but for the coaches and college basketball fans as well. Cool. No, this is a cool event. So I didn't know this until today. I was reading a little bit about it while we had a commercial break, Dan, after we were making fun of Tom Izzo earlier. Apparently, the first coach that ESPN approached about doing this was Tom Izzo. Mm-hmm. Like, they were kind of the starting point for the whole thing. And I guess the whole point is, like, it's branding. Like, it's not, we need to have the most recent champions, which obviously Michigan State hasn't won it since 2000. No one in the Big Ten has, in fact. But no, I mean, it's a cool event. I like seeing it together. I wish that KU would play Kentucky less often in years they don't play the Champions Classic. It's like, okay, I get it. There are other SEC teams out there. But nonetheless, it's a cool event. I'm happy they're sticking with it. Is it the most prestigious non-conference event?
Nah, the Maui.
I was going to say the Maui, too.
Well, and
it's different because it's not a tournament.
Right.
But still.
Like, as far as a thing like this, like, it's not really a multi-team, a traditional MTE, because you don't have a championship game, right? Like, it's different if these four got together and then you got two games. You got to see 4 games out of it. That would be kind of fun. So the Maui's a little different, but the Maui always feels like a bigger deal. Although, have you seen the field for next year's Maui Invitational? It sucks.
So that'd be the 2025 Maui?
The 2025 Maui Invitational field is so bad. All
right, so I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, Baylor. This is in alphabetical order. Baylor. Yes. Chaminade. Okay. Yes. Silver Swords. NC State. Kevin Keats. Okay. Oregon. Dana's still going to be around at that point?
Great question.
Seton Hall. All right. Texas. Maybe with a new head coach. Should have a new head coach. UNLV and USC. Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah, that field is so bad.
I mean, Baylor's the clear favorite, right?
This year, they've got North Carolina and UConn and Iowa State.
And Michigan State and Auburn.
Yes.
Auburn, the number 1 team in KenPom.
Yes. Plus a Dayton program that's always good.
Always relevant. Memphis, which is, I saw in a fan-voted mid-major poll, they were number 2 this week.
Colorado is also there.
Shout out to Tad Boyle, though.
Hey, yeah.
Love me
Big
some
shout
Tad
out
Boyle.
to Tad.
I wish him well.
Roll Tad.
Yeah, that field stinks.
Yeah, man. So, yeah.
I do love the Maui.
I would say
though.
it's the Maui. It's just everything that goes with it. Like, there are some years it doesn't have the best field, but it's still like it feels like a big deal. Like, that's always the one, like, over, feast week, they call it Thanksgiving week. That's the one, like, generally, like, you get excited to watch.
Well, although, to be honest with you, they've already revealed the 2026 one, too. John Rothstein had that the other day. It's worse.
Oh, no.
It's got Arizona, Maryland, Notre Dame, Providence, Ole Miss, BYU, VCU.
And then probably Chaminade.
They haven't picked an 8th team yet.
Yeah, BYU.
I mean, by that point, BYU is just going to have all NBA players.
Yeah.
So
all that NIL money.
yeah. KU, let's go back to Hawaii. Let's hop back on there. Let's get back to Hawaii. I'd love to go. I love the islands. Spencer, do you have a headline for us today?
Yes. Yesterday, got some Royals quick little headlines here. I'm not sure if you guys got to this yesterday.
We did not.
Well, this is a different one. That Bobby Witt
we
Jr.
didn't get to it, so we don't know if it's
Bobby Witt Jr. has been named MVP finalist.
Yes.
As well as Manager of the Year finalist for Matt Cotrero and
Right.
Cy Young finalist for Seth Lugo. Those are all coming out 18th, 19th, and 20th. Then David Lesky, I don't think he broke this news. I think the times just got released. But Monday through Thursday home games next year at the K, no matter what time of the season, they will all start at 6:40, and Friday night games will be 7:10.
So that's something they started doing a couple of years ago, was playing the April, May, and October weekday home games at 6:40.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought being that you can have them
September too, I think.
Yeah, that's what I meant. September.
Okay.
I think I said October.
Gotcha.
I meant September. The thought being that, if it's a school night, get kids back home a little sooner.
Yeah.
Maybe more people will come to games.
Maybe more people come if they're a little earlier at night. Then you can have the later games in the summer months when nobody's in school. I think it was part of the calculation. I can't swear to that, but now it looks like they're going to stick with the 6:40 throughout the year. And honestly, I like it. I like the 6:40 start time. With the games being shorter now, you're home. If you're in the KC Metro, you go to a ball game, be home by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm also not going to lie. That spells a near death knell to 580 Sports Talk overtime.
Yes, 580 Sports Talk overtime is on life support.
Yeah.
Limited basis.
Yeah.
Well,
It
depends. They're on the road.
It's like when Jim Valvano had his show moved from every weeknight to just weekends. Like that's Sports Talk overtime at this point.
Yeah, that's Bob Valvano, you mean?
Yeah, okay, I got him backwards. Yeah, Bob Valvano. I used to listen to the Bobby V show all the time.
Bobby V makes 3 tonight. Yeah, that was fun, man.
Back in the day.
I remember that.
I don't remember that show.
Man,
On
Bob
radio,
Valvano.
late night?
Late night ESPN
Based out of
radio?
Louisville, yeah.
Oh no, I never had ESPN. There was never any ESPN radio in the DC market.
Really?
There was ESPN 980, but it was owned by Dan Snyder, and he put all his evening programming was different.
Classic Dan Snyder move.
Yeah.
One last baseball headline. This was probably pretty predictable, but has been confirmed that the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, Tropicana Field, can indeed be fixed, but not in time to host any games in 2025. It can be repaired for a total cost of about $55.7 million in time for the 2026 season. A 412-page report released by the city of St. Petersburg found the basic structure of the Dome Stadium does not appear to have been adversely affected. However, the roof got shredded, and they're not going to be able to get a new roof on it for any point during the 2025 season. Major League Baseball wants the Rays to remain in the area near their fan base, if at all possible. Several Tampa Bay area spring training sites have been suggested, including Clearwater, Tampa, Dunedin, Sarasota, Lakeland, and the Rays' own spring training home in Port Charlotte. Problem being there, a lot of those fields host minor league baseball. I've been to a minor league baseball game in Clearwater at the Phillies spring training facility. The Phillies have their single A team there. The Florida State League, they play games in those stadiums throughout the summer. So no perfect solutions, but yes, you will not be seeing indoor baseball in Tampa Bay in the 2025 season.
This might be a dumb question, but can they not just take off the rest of the roof and play in an open air environment?
I don't think that's a dumb question. I think that's a totally reasonable question to ask.
Because you could take all that off in time for the start of the season.
You could, but if it's an indoor stadium, it's built to be an indoor stadium, like infrastructure wise. Like there's no drainage on the turf if it were to rain. There's no drainage in the seating decks or if it were to rain in the dugouts. Like, that would be impossible to put in a short period of time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you might have mentioned this and I just glossed over it, and I apologize if so. Are they requiring the Rays stay in Florida?
It is not required necessarily,
I know that's
but the desire is to stay close to the Tampa, St. Pete area.
Which would be shockingly pro-fan for baseball standards these days.
No kidding.
Because my initial thought, as cynical as it is, test run for Charlotte.
Test run for
Nashville.
No, I had
almost certainly Nashville.
I had the exact same thought. Or you go down, play in Puerto Rico. They go play in Montreal. Remember when that was a plan?
They could go to Montreal like they've wanted to, right?
Yeah, that was a whole thing. They're like, we're going to split our schedule, play half our games in Montreal.
Yeah.
Am I wrong though? Didn't they get something approved for a new ballpark?
Yes, the Rays do have a new ballpark set to be finished in time for 2028. At which point Tropicana Field will be demolished. So they're going to have this roof for 2 years.
They're in a rock and a hard place because, like, do you really want to pay that $56 million to repair it for 2 seasons?
I mean, yes. Like, I mean, it's their home park. It's got all of the amenities of home. You'd like to be able to play there instead of playing at single
you know
A
what
team
I'm saying,
ballpark.
Though, right?
I get exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. It seems like. Yeah, $55.7 million in renovations for 2 years of use does not maybe seem like the best use of taxpayer money for the people of Florida.
They're probably going to be cutting some corners on their new home.
Again, very Major League Baseball in 2024.
We'll take a time out here. Brendan's off to Lee Arena after this. Say goodbye, Brendan. Wave to the people, Brendan.
Bye.
We will.
Bye forever.
We'll have Brendan back tomorrow. When we come back, Spencer and I breaking down the Champions Class tonight. KU, Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky. We'll talk all about it next as 580 Sports Talk continues.
Places that could expose you more to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity's stolen, their U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code PLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, a prescription milligram injection formula. It helps with fast joint pain, stiffness, and limb fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair? What do you mean? Does it not look good? It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret. No secret. It's Jayhawk. It's Jayhawk. It certainly doesn't have its name. Your hair was never been so thick. It is gorgeous. I was so tired of it.
.531 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. You'll never believe it. They told us a 5:30 start for the Champions Classic, and the game is not started. The game is not underway at State Farm Arena between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Michigan State Spartans. That's game 1 of 2 in the Champions Classic doubleheader tonight. I asked this question at the top of the show, Spencer. Brendan and I gnawed on this for a little while. You can't find anybody more interesting than Michigan State to put in this because, look, Michigan State, Tom Izzo, great coaching career. They've had a lot of success. They're the last Big 12 team to win a national championship, and that's all well and good. But when was the last time you really wanted to watch Michigan State play? And I'm talking as I know the real diehard hoop heads out there who tweet things like January, February, Izzo, April, May. They're all excited to see what Michigan State looks like. I haven't been intrigued by a Michigan State team in half a decade now. And they just feel like the obvious outlier because every year Kansas and Duke and Kentucky bring 5-star freshmen and future pros and lottery picks and excitement and buzz. And Michigan State brings Tom Izzo and a different colored uniform than all those other teams. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't they don't jive, they don't mesh. It doesn't work for me. I'm tired of Michigan State being a part of this. When Kansas plays Duke, you get fired up for this, right? When Kansas plays Kentucky, it's a big deal.
I mean, even UNC on Friday night.
Yeah, Kansas playing Michigan State in this tournament, and it's man, that's kind of lame.
But it's also because they did play that game on Friday. I feel like that goes into it just a little bit.
That's the other point I made. That this used to feel the Champions Classic like the unofficial opening day of college basketball season. It's all right, we're rolling out 3 blue bloods plus Michigan State.
Michigan State 8 is high.
We're rolling out. I'm tired of Tom Izzo's act. Respect the career, respect the accomplishments. It's been 25 years since that national championship. And I know he's been to the Final Fours in the interim, but it's been 25 years. 25 years. Kansas has a national championship as recently as 2022. Duke has a natty as recently as 2015. Kentucky has a natty as recently as 2012. But those teams are always interesting at a bare minimum. I don't know who plays for Michigan State. I'll be honest. I know who Kentucky's got. I know who their guys are, and I know who Duke's guy is, Cooper Flag, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I guess we'll learn tonight. But Con Knuppel or Knuppel is supposed to be really good too. Another freshman that they've got, and I know my job to know KU's guys. I know KU's guys. I don't know who plays for Michigan State.
Yeah. Also,
is AJ Hogarth still there?
I don't know.
I don't think he is. I think he's graduated.
I think this ESPN broadcast is interesting. They interviewed the 2 head coaches side by side before tip-off.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I've got it on in here. AJ Hogarth is still playing college basketball, but he transferred to Vanderbilt. You will not see AJ Hogarth.
They're going to flash up the starting 5? Come on.
I hope so, because that will be my first exposure to who plays. Is that a Hauser? Please tell me they're not still running Hausers out there at Michigan State. That can't be true.
We don't have a lineup. Come on, ESPN. Help us out. Give us a little help here. Is this? No.
No. ESPN's killing me right now. Yeah, man, I got nothing for you on Michigan State. Anyway, for Kansas tonight, they'll be tested again. We've already seen them tested. This is a test on a neutral site. I'll be interested to see how Zeke Mayo plays with the starters. The game is just kicked off. That to me is the most interesting thing about tonight. How does Zeke look getting extended minutes with the starters? How does that change the bench rotation and the minutes for guys? And can anybody actually guard Hunter Dickinson?
Hey, what if
after one possession is no.
What if I tell you Xavier Booker? Frankie Fiddler?
Frankie Fiddler is a name I vaguely recognize. I think he was a really good mid-major player, and he ended up at
Jackson Kohler came off the bench and scored 20 in their last game.
Jaden Akins, I feel like, was there last year.
Jaden Akins,
That is a recognizable name. For
Jace Richardson, and Trey Holloman are the only double finger scorers in their game against the Niagara Purple Eagles, where they won 96-60 on Thursday.
Are you looking at the box score for that game?
I'm just looking at the Google box score.
So that's what I'm looking for Kansas tonight. How does Zeke play with the starters? No Shaquille Morgan tonight, so it'll probably be the same guys rotation-wise.
We finally did get a starting five graphic.
We did. They put one up after the game had already started. So they are underway. Not exactly at 5:30, but close enough that it's not like a total outrage.
Yeah, 5:35. That's a TV. That's a TV tip time.
Yeah,
give you 5 minutes.
He's done by 7:45, and that's a relief, frankly, because when they played the late game over the years, that game wouldn't get done until midnight. It was bad. It was.
Well, they have the break in it tonight. They're going to do the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing the playoff rankings the last handful of years, kind of like the between games entertainment, which I don't know how much overlap there is. I will also tell you this: watching the game on television, there ain't nobody at State Farm.
Well, yeah,
there's nobody for this. It looks like an NCAA tournament game between like an 8 seed and a 9 seed.
It's because everyone's in Atlanta trying to get there. They're stuck in traffic.
Yeah, the downside of a 5:30. Give me one thing you're interested in about KU's performance tonight. They're up early.
I think if you can get Hunter Dickinson going and keep him going.
Yeah, that's. It does not look like a difficult matchup for him tonight. Is what I will say. His early possessions we have been able to see. They haven't had any issue getting him the basketball. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he just scored as I was talking.
Yeah.
Video I'm watching.
Yeah. In fact, he has all of Kansas's points.
Oh, I just pulled it back up. So
yeah, he's got all of their points so far. 6-0 Kansas lead. 2.5 minutes in. How about Duke, Kentucky? Like, it's different now, right? Like,
yeah, it's not
Cal. Not Coach Calipari. It's not Mike Krzyzewski. It's different now. But I want to see this Cooper Flagg kid play basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been told this is the next big thing, and told by enough people that are trustworthy that say, "Yo, yeah, you gotta see this kid." Like a more physically durable Chet Holmgren, I think is the comp that I've heard, which is fascinating to me because Holmgren was an awesome college player at Gonzaga, and the durability thing is still an issue. He just broke his hip, I think, the other day for Oklahoma City. He's going to miss like 2 months, which is a killer blow to the Thunder.
People are also comparing him to one Jason Tatum. Given their similar frame, Flagg and Tatum also shared their similar play styles.
Well, is Flagg taller? Like, substantially?
I think so.
He was 6'10", 6'11"? I'm Googling it right now. 6'9". Okay. A little shorter than I thought. I thought he was closer to 7 foot.
Jason Tatum is...
Tatum's 6'8". Yeah, it's not the same.
6'8", yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that may be a better comparison.
Well, also, they both played for Duke.
Yeah.
So you draw that comparison early.
Yeah. Also, the only reason I did let's be honest, the only reason I came up with Chet Holmgren things was let's be real. That's how comparisons work from time to time. Looking forward to watching the game against the 6-2 Kansas lead. They're just underway in Atlanta. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Royals baseball. Some thoughts from Ann Rogers, who covers the Royals for MLB.com, about some leadoff hitter possibilities. I don't know that they've pinned down successfully the prototype of hitter that they really got to go and get at the leadoff spot. I'll talk about the kind of player I want to see bat leadoff for the Royals. That's coming up next on 580 Sports Show. 543 on 580 Sports Talk, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, 580 WIBW.com. Video stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Dan Spencer hanging out with you, finishing out the hour. A little bit of breaking baseball news for you. Bobby Witt Jr. is a Silver Slugger for the first time in his career. What do you want to bet it won't be the last? Bobby Witt Jr. wins the Silver Slugger, best offensive player at his position. I mean, who the hell else were they going to give it to? I know Gunnar Henderson had a nice season, but come on. There's only one choice, the AL Silver Slugger. Bobby Witt Jr. had 211 hits, which led baseball, 332 batting average, led baseball, 45 doubles, 11 triples, 32 dingers, 109 driven in, and adds the Silver Slugger to his Gold Glove.
February 5th of 2024 was a great day for Kansas City because they signed him to an 11-year extension.
Yep.
Before all of this happened, before his value would surge to 330 probably plus.
Yeah. They might be getting a bargain
Yes.
with Bobby Witt Jr. when all's said and done. Gold Glover, Silver Slugger. He's going to be the MVP runner-up. I said it on yesterday's show. We did have the news yesterday about Witt being a MVP finalist, which basically they already know, just like with the Manager of the Year and the Cy Young and the Rookie of the Year. The ballots have all been out. The fact that there are finalists named just means that like those were the top three votes. We already know that. It's just to try and add some intrigue to the process. I suppose.
3 dates that they announced them.
Right. So there's no real intrigue. Like Aaron Judge is going to be the MVP, and Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be the runner-up. And I said it yesterday, and I'll repeat it again. Bobby Witt Jr.'s 2024 is one of the greatest non-MVP seasons in the history of baseball. Like, if you didn't appreciate it while it was happening, sometimes, and this is me being a baseball nut, right? Like, sometimes I just like to go and look at a baseball reference page and just look at the big numbers that make your eyes bug out of your head. Bobby Witt Jr.'s baseball reference page is a lot of fun to look at. There's already a lot of black ink. There's already a lot of awards.
Yeah.
There's like cartoonishly large numbers in wins above replacement, and he was 24 years old for the better part, the entirety, in fact, almost the entirety of this last season. So, special player, and won't be the last time that we are talking about these plaudits for him. I think I would be a little surprised, honestly, if, in fact, Salvador Perez is not also a Silver Slugger winner at catcher. I'm not sure who else they would give it to be honest. I'm trying to think. Like, Adley Rutschman didn't have a great year. I don't know who else in the American League at catcher would get it if not him. I really am at a loss. I don't know that they would. Like, did David Fry catch enough games? He had a nice year, but I don't think he'd get it. I don't think Ryan Jeffers of Minnesota would get it. What did Cal Raleigh do in Seattle? That's the only other guy I can think of that would really be a threat. Cal Raleigh had 34 homers. Maybe he gets it. He already won the Gold Glove. He won the Platinum Glove, in fact. But Salvador Perez had a higher batting average, and I think he had more runs driven in. So we'll see. I guess there's a little intrigue there after all. Apologies to Cal Raleigh. I was not as familiar with your game as perhaps I should have been. 8-6, Kansas leading Michigan State, 6 minutes into the Champions Classic. That game's on ESPN. I wanted to talk about this. Ann Rogers of Royals.com, MLB.com, wrote about some names that could fix the top of the order this year. I think Jeffrey and Mark B have it absolutely right in the YouTube live chat. The Royals need a hitter who can play the outfield. Like, they've got to address outfield offense. And I'm of the belief, and have been for a long time, that the Royals can get away with Kyle Isbell in center field because he's a really good defender. And I'm okay. Like, no lineup in baseball has 9 above average hitters. If you sacrifice a little offense in center for an above average glove, and I believe Isbell has one of those, you can live with that. But it's also not great, as Mark B points out in the YouTube live chat, that your outfielders for the better part of last season were batting 7, 8, 9 in your order. Like, that's tough to sustain. You need, like, especially the corner outfield, you need some pop from the corner outfield. You need some real offensive production from those guys. And they have not gotten that. Did
Yeah.
not certainly get that last year. And it's why most of the names that Ann Rodgers brings up are outfielders. There's Jurix and Profar, who I am of the mind that's not the best idea. I think Profar does really well in San Diego, and in any other uniform, he's just been a guy. And I wouldn't want to be the one that overpays Profar after the obvious outlier season in his career. Taylor Ward was a name that we brought up a bunch during the summer and comes up again in her writing that he could be a trade target potentially. He's got 2 years of team control left, hits left-handers really well, which was nice. Jake McCarthy's another one. That's really interesting. Jake McCarthy's got a lot of team control left in Arizona. Hit 285 with a 349 on base last year. Not much power, but he can really run. That's an interesting name to throw out there because I don't think those names come from just anywhere in articles like this. Like there must be some sort of rumbling that that's a name that's on the Royals list, or that's a name that maybe the Diamondbacks don't have enough playing time for, might be willing to swap him for some pitching depth, which this past season proved the Diamondbacks sorely need. I think the Royals need to look for a prototype for their leadoff hitter. And I don't necessarily care what the position is, like whether it's second base, center field, left field. I don't care necessarily where the leadoff hitter plays. They just didn't have a lot of guys in the lineup last year that were tough outs. And it's one thing to like not make outs. Like you can be productive and not be a tough out. They're not one and the same. Like Salvador Perez has made a lot of outs.
Speaking of Salvador Perez, breaking news. He has been named Silver Slugger.
Look at me. I was right on top of it. I was early. I was early. That's 5 career Silver Sluggers for Salvador Perez.
I literally had refreshed my screen and saw that, and you were talking about him, so I was like, I should probably drop it then.
That is 5 Silver Sluggers all time for Salvador Perez. I gotta believe, and I don't know this, and I might see if I can like scan a list here of Silver Slugger winners. So as far as catchers go, the only catchers to win more Silver Slugger awards than Salvador Perez, who's now up to 5, the only guys to win more, Lance Parrish and Brian McCann each won 6. Pudge Rodriguez won 7. Mike Piazza won 10. Sal Perez now has as many Silver Sluggers as Joe Mauer, Hall of Famer, Barry Carter, Hall of Famer, Jorge Posada, and Buster Posey. And Buster Posey's going to the Hall of Fame. Just something else that bolsters his case as a future enshrinee in Cooperstown. Congratulations to Salvi.
I did not realize that. I just saw this from Royals Review. That's the 17th, I guess now 18th Silver Sluggers, 17th and 18th Silver Sluggers Royals players have won.
Okay,
in Royals history.
Yeah,
and Salvi has you said 5 now.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy to think about.
Just goes to show you, Royals in their history not really known for power. Also, they didn't start giving away the Silver Slugger until 1980, so there were probably a year or two that George Brett missed out on.
Yeah.
How many Brett end up winning? 2 at third base. If he got 1 at first base, I can't find it. Anyway, to wrap up my point real quick here, because we got to take one final time out. The Royals need a guy at the top of the order who's just a tough out, who can spoil pitches, foul some pitches off, have an 8, 9, 10 pitch, grind out at bats. They never have had a guy quite like that. Like even their good leadoff hitters were more pesky because they were fast, or they were pesky because they were hard to keep on the base paths. The Royals just need some tough outs. They need some guys to grind pitchers down, make you throw 8, 9 pitches to start a game. That's the kind of prototype that I think they should be looking for as they go shopping for a leadoff hitter. We'll take one final break. Final word is next on 580 Sports Talk. It's time for the final word on 580 Sports Talk as we wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. Spencer Dupuis, why don't you go first?
I know it's early. Kansas was up like 6-2. They're down 10-8 now.
Yeah, AJ Storr picked up 2 real quick fouls.
They're also
upon coming
4
in.
for 18.
Yeah, that's not great. And
Michigan State's 2 for 9.
something that we talked about that when these games were like the first game of the year or the first big game of the year, the quality of play often was not good. KU had one year where they turned the ball over like 20.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it happens. And also, CJ Moore put this out.
I saw that tweet, yeah.
on Twitter that there is just no energy in the building right now because there's nobody there. And that's too
I will
bad.
say,
like the event deserves better than that.
I will say they're showing this camera left here next to the basket behind the KU bench. There is definitely more people there than there was the first time they showed that shot.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's my final word is that somehow KU's down right now.
Final word for me is that the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC, and I think the best team in football, and they're about to get a lot better because Charles Omenihu and Isiah Pacheco had their 21-day practice windows opened up or are going to have them opened up this week by the Chiefs. Pacheco is going to make this running game that much more effective. He's going to be able to get the extra yards that Kareem Hunt hasn't been able to, so it's going to be the same success rate with a hint of more explosiveness. And Charles Omenihu gives the Chiefs another pass rusher who can win one-on-one, and they have been lacking that a little bit this year. Haven't been as successful as you would expect rushing the passer, especially given some of the names and the track records of the guys up front for the Chiefs this season. So Omenihu's going to add some punch to that unit. Isiah Pacheco's going to add some juice and some explosiveness to the offense. And the best team in the NFL is only going to get better. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. We're back with you tomorrow from 3 to 6. It'll be a K-State kind of day. Tim Fitzgerald will join us from GoPowerCat.com. We'll talk to Fitz. We'll talk some more Chiefs. We'll start to dig into their big game against the Buffalo Bills coming up on Sunday in Orchard Park, New York. We'll also recap the Champions Classic for KU, who again trails 10-8 about halfway through a very sluggish first half. Hope you'll join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock. For Brendan Dorzinski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This has been 580 Sports Talk.